It's time for the plot thing.
Street Talk.
That's what we call it.
Street Talk. Yeah, I thought Coronation Street was quite good this week. Pleasantly surprising. We ended up giving it quite a few bang-ins on our Street Talk shorts, didn't we? And it was mostly due to the Ryan, Daisy and Daniel story, which we have been not so keen on
all over
so recently. But
Awful
it was good.
people, aren't we?
Nice bit of climactic action there.
So mercurial. One minute we like something, next minute we hate
You've
it.
just got to make it good, Coronation Street, and then we just stop criticising it and say well done and give you a good pat on the back. But I think also this week there was really only 4 stories, and I think having that the smaller number of stories in a week does always help. I mean, you do get the very rare occasions, like after Seb's murder, when the whole of the show will be taken up by one story, and that was great. But yeah, this week we had the Ryan and Cheatin story, which we're going to start with, taking up the vast majority of the screen time. We also had the Evelyn dog story, which I'm calling the Canine at number 9 this week.
I was sitting here reading it going, I don't get it. When you said
K9
it out loud.
At number 9.
K9.
Although Taylor wasn't actually at number 9 for too long. Wasn't it? That was a really nice, not particularly high stakes. I know there was hostages. I know there was being punched in the face. I know there was the threat of arrest. But it didn't feel such like mega high drama as everything else. And it didn't feel too unrealistic. So I enjoyed it.
I just wonder, why was there a kidnapping in it?
It wasn't the hostage taking.
The hostage, just...
I didn't mind too much.
Said,
it was over and
we
done
need something
with.
to put in the guide to make this more exciting.
Oh, it didn't bother me.
I know, but you just... Okay, my problem with it is, and it's not really a big deal, I know. I'm making more of a big deal about it than I should be. But,
just hope we're not criticising.
But listen, don't be having hostages and kidnapping in a story like this, because you want to save that for when you want it to have a dramatic impact.
Well, it had somewhat.
I'm just saying.
Okay, well, it was. I thought
this
it was
is the
okay.
second. How many kidnappings have we had this year now?
Probably quite a few. How many women have had hands put over their mouths by nasty bad guys?
Let's
Jenny
stop.
and Evelyn can start a support group at the community centre, can't
women.
they? And of course, there was old Toya as well.
So that's what I was thinking
gagged.
of.
Yeah.
That's who I was thinking of.
Read and Writing is next, which is all about Stephen Reed's journal that has been uncovered. And, there's something about a long lost and recently discovered...
It wasn't long lost, though.
Well, not too long lost, but journals on... When somebody finds, a character wrote this and they're not around anymore, I'm always like, I can't wait to see what's in it. Even if this case it's just a load of business... catchphrases
I think it's hilarious.
And silly doodles and passwords.
Psychopath. Nobody uses a filofax as a diary except Stephen Reed. What are you doing?
I loved it. And of course there was also the laptop that was found. The very, very old
you
laptop.
Hated this, didn't you?
Did I hate it? We'll get to it.
No, you were moaning all the way through going, it's not a file, it's a folder.
I did have that little... Yeah, Jenny found a folder that was locked and she and Carla were calling it files all the way through the week, but...
I just wonder if they had to say it because it might confuse people. But who's that old?
Then they're confused by the concept of a folder on a computer. But don't you think the computer itself looked like really ancient?
Yeah,
it was very chunky. It looked like my first laptop from the early 2000s or the late 90s.
Stephen Reed, obviously, his woes were because he was bankrupt. And looking from his lifestyle, I can guess that a lot of that went on being flashy and having a nice car and suits. So why is he lugging around a laptop that looks like it was made out of Lego?
He did have financial troubles this year.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
He didn't. But
if you're going to sell everything because you're poor, you would still keep your laptop because first of all you don't get a good price for them second hand, and secondly you need that for your business don't you?
I tell you what, never mind the hole punch. I think that laptop would have absolutely killed Teddy had he been whacked around the head of that.
Yeah,
that was more heavy duty. I think it was more reliable. He lucked out when the hole punch worked. The laptop, that would have been a surefire hit.
Mind you, well, if you can keep a laptop running that long, then it's probably fueled by witchcraft.
He didn't use it very much, did he?
No, he didn't.
I showed you a screenshot. Of course I had a look, and when Jenny was looking on the screen and seeing all the folders that were there, and there was one that was opened at the beginning of October that was this Seagull Industries folder, and then there were a couple from previous weeks, or for a few weeks before that, they're called Rovers 1, 2 and 3. Then it went back to like, there was one in August, one in April, and this was his most recently used files. So according to that,
he doesn't do anything.
He doesn't really do anything on the laptop apart from plot to buy the Rovers, possibly book his holiday, and also do dodgy seagull stuff
on the internet.
Yeah,
so should be looking at.
Anyway, we're not supposed to look
just
at things
imagine
like
the person who was putting all the graphics together for this, going, they're gonna. And so he's looking over at their shoulder going, they're going to go on about this online. They're going to take a screenshot.
Anyone who designs anything like that
like,
must know that sad nerds like us are going to pause it and go,
bent.
Wow. And I did think it looked a little bit... It wasn't quite as bad as Windows 3.1, but it was certainly no modern operating system that Stephen was running there.
Well, I think that the graphics department needs to work harder on their computer interface.
I think they did a jolly good job. They did a better job with that than they did Ardy's gaming console the other year. I will give you that
hang on.
Finally, and this I guess could have also been the storyline title for what was going at number 9, we've got Auf Wiedersehen, Pet.
Auf Wiedershen's Pet.
What?
That's what you say in this country. You say Auf Wiedershen's Pet.
Auf Wiedersehen, Pet is our old Geordie, everyone's favourite Geordie chef, Stu, saying ta-ra to Dom as he heads off to Deutschland in search of his long-lost family, which seemed to appear out of nowhere this week. So...
What a story that is, isn't it?
What a great
story.
So
I'm going to do all the summary because Michael won't...
Yeah, but...
Michael wants me to, he said.
My voice is not too bad at the moment. There's a slight, you can hear that there's a bit of a to it.
You've got a bit of a Jessica Rabbit sound. We watched
We did watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit again last night. Very good. So I fear that if I do all the synopses, I might have nothing left by the end. But I'm sure that won't stop me interrupting you at every available moment to offer my thoughts and stupid jokes. So, Gemma, without further ado, over to you for the Ryan and Cheating story.
I thought we were going to do a rhyme then.
I know, I was building myself up for one, but I couldn't think of one.
Well.
What's Ryan and Daisy and Daniel been up to? The scamps this week.
On Monday, Carla is not happy because Ryan is thinking about moving to Glasgow and she is concerned that this is a big life change for him. And he's like, are you ready for it? And he's like, yes. And she says, okay, I'll back you. And then when Daisy comes into the cafe, Ryan blanks her. And she's still looking for jobs, but she's not having any luck. Daniel asks Ken to look after Bertie later. And he knows, doesn't he? At the beginning of this week, he knows.
Last week he saw this video of Daisy and Ryan.
That's right.
Confessing their
it's really hard sometimes
illicit relationship.
When you're casting your mind back for these synopses, it's really hard to know when to stop.
Did this happen last week or this week? I don't remember. No, Daniel went into this week knowing full well what a naughty girl that Daisy had been with Ryan.
So I saw lots of comments about his motivations here and what he was trying to achieve with this. He has got a surprise plan for Daisy because he wants her to officially adopt Bertie.
Well, also there was that, and there was the Rovers, wasn't it? He tells Ken at this point that he's going to adopt Bertie, but that's only stage 1 of his plan.
Stage 2. He takes Daisy to the Rovers before he's mentioned the adoption thing, and he says, why don't I buy it with my inheritance? Let's take this place over. We could be the landlord and landlady. We could be Mr. and Mrs. Rover's return. And Daisy's like, She's not enthusiastic about this at all. She's very cautious. She doesn't want him to blow his inheritance on this. She knows that there were financial issues. And he's really disappointed. And she goes outside for some fresh air. And again, go on, what?
What's Daniel up to here? Because it's either a case of he desperately fighting to keep hold of Daisy because he's worried that she's going to go off with Ryan any second now. And if he locks her in to the Rovers' return, is she going to be is she going to give up on Ryan and then say, oh, Daniel, I will stay with you. She doesn't know that what he knows, but is this his way of trying to get a bit of security with her? Or is he, as I've seen other people online saying, trying to just make her feel so guilty that eventually she's like, I can't do it because I slept with Ryan, which is eventually what happens.
I cannot find a non-manipulative reason for why Daniel's done these things. I think a lot of people are really sympathetic to him, and that's fine because I'm sympathetic. I think I can find sympathy for all these characters, some of whom have made more mistakes than others. Mm-hmm. But I just think he's being manipulative here. I think he's giving her too many reasons to not leave him. He's giving obligations to her, isn't he, and responsibilities. These aren't, again, I've criticised him about the fact that he was letting her continue to care for his child when he found out that, you know, like, because that felt like it was more convenient for him to keep the charade up while she's babysitting his kid. But I think he's not giving her things. He's given her things that require responsibility and from her. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, oh, Daisy, I'm trying to buy your affections with a new engagement ring or a beautiful holiday somewhere that you really want to go that I don't really want to go, or a car so you can go and get a job further afield, or an apartment somewhere that you want to live in, because she didn't want to live on the street, and she said that to him and he didn't listen to her. He's given her things that require her time and attention, like, and tie her to things. And I'm not saying adoption is like a negative thing at all, but the way he's kind of trying to trick her into it feels like it was. It didn't feel like a nice thing. He wasn't doing it out of, what's the word? I haven't got any words today. You know what I mean? He wasn't benevolently asking her to look to adopt his child. He was tricking her. He was either tricking her into taking it on and then feeling like, I can't leave Daniel now because I've adopted his kid. Oh, I forgot what the other thing was.
I think he's too smart to be going into this naively, just hoping that she would forget about Ryan and
some
be
people
able to
might
move
say
on.
She's doing it to show her what she's missing if she doesn't stay with him. Like, these are opportunities. I don't see them as opportunities. I'm definitely not, again, trying to say that an adopted child is a burden. And I would hope that if anyone's listening to this, what I've said before about adoption proves that that's how I feel about it. But from what he's doing, he's just giving her, like, he's putting an anchor, isn't he, on her ship.
Yeah exactly. You can't go off with Ryan. You can't go off to Glasgow. You're with me now. You got the responsibility here.
Honestly,
no, I agree.
Of all the things
probably but he'd also be thinking she's going to be constantly feeling guilty about it.
Yes.
She's going to know. She's not going to know he knows. He's going to be able to go on as normal in a way, but he knows that she would have that guilt, that millstone around her neck for the rest of her life. Again, hopefully dissuading her from straying again.
Yes, exactly.
Because if she
it's
does...
like a chastity belt.
Yeah, basically.
And it's so sad because of all the things, the adoption should be the most joyous and wonderful time, because obviously Daisy really loves looking after Bertie, and it's the most serious thing they've ever sort of proposed between the two of them, because a marriage, you can get divorced, a business can go, you can leave the business, but a child who you adopt, of course you should never even consider.
So I as much as I think Daniel was being quite manipulative in this week, I still very much enjoyed watching him doing
this. Yeah, I loved it.
I wanted him to become unhinged, I think I said last week, and be cruel and clever and cunning.
Manipulative.
And this week he absolutely was. So, and I think that Daisy deserves it. So to see him coming up with all these plots, I thought was fantastic.
It was a plot.
Although it was, using your own son as a pawn in your love games.
It's awful.
Possibly honestly. Unethical.
Is it one of the worst things he's ever done? I think it is, because this poor child being used like this, what was he going to do if Daisy signed it? He's not happy in this relationship. He can't be... We've just said how clever he is. I guess being emotionally literate is different from intelligence. Does he really genuinely think that he would be happy with Daisy, knowing what he knows, knowing that she doesn't know he knows about it, never being able to get closure or moving on from it?
I think that he thinks he would be able to, especially if Ryan disappeared off to Glasgow. I think that he would forget it in time.
So asking somebody to adopt your child should be the highest privilege you ever bestow upon anyone, apart from having a biological child with them, which is the same thing. Why would you do that to somebody that you know is a liar, that you've sat there and stewed about? If this was truly a plot like I think it was, this is one of the most despicable things he's done. Poor innocent Bertie's already lost a mum.
Well, maybe he wasn't going to go completely through with it. He did have her there ready to sign the papers later in the episode, in the week, didn't he? No, that's true.
Right, anyway, everyone write in. I want everyone to tell me what you think of this, because...
As a viewer of a soap, and so like you said with what story was it? The Amy story where she let that bloke drink his drug drink, and you said, well, as a soap watcher, I'm all on Amy's side. She didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And I was kind of thinking the same about Daniel. I was on his side, and I don't know whether it was just bros together, me and Dan.
Get those cheating hoes, kick them to the curb.
But I certainly wasn't on Daisy's side when she was snogging Ryan in the ginnel or bedding him at whenever it was.
Well, listen,
and some people would say, well, she only slept with him once, but there have been lots of snogs, and even throughout the rest of this week's episodes, she did exactly like Daniel was saying and was going to Ryan more. After she heard about the fight, she went to him. She clearly has got these lingering feelings for Ryan.
There's an emotional affair that's still ongoing.
Yeah, there really, really is. And she's trying to just ignore it and hope that it goes away. So as much as I also do love the character of Daisy, she absolutely deserves this. I'll forgive her in time. I've had an up and down relationship with Daisy over the last 3 years, and she's in my bad books at the moment. But as a character on the whole, as a deep developed complex character, I really, really enjoy her. So I can stand at the moment to see her getting kicked when she's down a little bit. By Daniel, who I also really enjoy. No, it's great stuff.
Yeah, this is the thing about soaps that is kind of like not good for the soul, because it so invites you to judge people for stuff. It's like really bad, but it's so much fun. I think it's better to judge fictional characters than real life ones. And if we all have an urge, then let's take it out on Daisy and Daniel.
So with this whole pub thing, he's in a way
hole punch thing.
I think he's not just making it up. I think if she decided, yes, okay, let's go for it, he would. But I think it would allow him to then spend the rest of their lives or however long
brooding.
No, feeling superior over her, which, like his dad,
that's true,
that he loves to do.
It fuels them, doesn't it?
He would spend, their whole relationship together knowing that he had something.
Literally landlording
it over her, knowing that anything that she did, he'd be able to pull out the zinger. And that is a total Barlow thing to do, and that wasn't the only Ken Barlow-esque thing that we saw Daniel do this week with Daisy.
What's it called? A thing off the old...
He's a chip off the old Barlow
block. Off the old blob.
He is.
Right, so she's not happy about the idea because she knows that... She doesn't want to admit it, but she still hasn't given up the idea of Ryan, has she?
She hasn't. And you're right, she also does know that the Rovers isn't necessarily a sound financial investment. Whatever's going to happen to the Rovers in the end, whoever opens it is going to have to, I hope, deal with the fact that it's not a magic wand that's suddenly going to invite a regular stream of new customers in.
They need something, don't they? They really need to justify how the Rovers is going to open.
Because if whoever is in charge when it opens, if it just goes back to, we're a full pub again, in a way, great. But it also does forget the fact that they were clearly having financial difficulties earlier in the year, like big ones.
Are they going to be back with Newton and Ridley? Because
no,
they're not going to carry any Newton and Ridley beers then.
No, they still can. I mean, Newton and Ridley weren't in charge of the pub before, were they? Newton and Ridley. It used to be a free house. It was originally Newton and Ridley. Then it was a free house when Bet or was maybe bought it, and then since Newton and Ridley's involvement was just when it was going under, and Henry stepped in and said we'll buy it, but it's nothing to do with Newton and Ridley, nothing to do with Waterford anymore, so it's going to go back to a free house that's still running by itself with no big support network from any brewery, possibly, unless that's what they go with, and they have, I don't know, Nuttall's or something steps in and decides to buy it as well.
Nuttall's.
There's all that. The other thing with Daisy, I'm going to potentially say, if I was her, would I want to be the landlady of the place where I had acid thrown at me? I know she has worked in the pub since and kind of got over it a little bit, but she's going to have flashbacks. It's going to remind them of Ryan.
Well, maybe there's power in taking back control.
Maybe.
Okay, so I just love that all the complex stuff going on here. This is really good. There was a lot of faffing and fiddling and sillying about.
There's been many months of faffing about to get to this stage.
Now we've got here, it's quite magnificent, isn't it? Because there are so many different things you can read into everybody's motivations and behaviour, and somebody else watching this might have a completely different, what's the word?
Take on it.
Yeah. So Ryan finds Daisy in the cafe and he tells her he's going to Glasgow and she's not happy and he doesn't want to leave either. Well, and he's saying, oh, well, there's nobody keeping me here, is there? And
he's desperately hoping that she'll say, no, don't go.
Daisy goes back to the flat and tells Daniel that she's sorry for disappearing off, and he brings up the pub again and says, look, you should do it, you'd be brilliant. And she says she's got to sleep on it, but I'm probably gonna say yes. Why are you doing this, Daisy? Daniel's like chuffed, and she's
he's
still
like in the background. Daniel's doing a little fist bump, a fist pump or whatever. What do you do with your fists?
Yeah, fist
pump in the air.
Hooray!
Because he's pleased that he's got her. He thinks at this point. Yeah. But yeah, she's clearly not convinced about this.
And obviously, like, if this was real life, you would be thinking, maybe I'll start another business or do something else on the street or open, one of the other empty shops and do something there that people haven't done or whatever. But because this is Corrie, it's so symbolic that it's the Rovers that they're trying to buy.
What were your first thoughts of the idea about Daniel and Daisy?
No.
I know we want Jenny, but just putting Jenny to one side for a moment. No. She can't be it forever. Though if anybody kicks that Jenny out, she's not had a fair shake of it yet. I need whoever buys it, whether it's her or somebody else, Jenny needs to be the landlady. But
Daniel couldn't cope. What is he going to do? Didn't he say something about keeping his job?
Yeah, he would still work as a teacher, but he's saying that Daisy would be the main, the front of it. Daniel would be the owner of it, but he wouldn't have much to do with it. I don't see how, as a teacher, and I don't know about teachers in whatever it is in prison. I can't remember what it's called now that he teaches in. The Youth Correctional Centre or whatever. I can't see how he would have any time for doing anything else, although looking at his recent timetable, I do run a podcast. Yeah. That's true. He had an inset day randomly on Wednesday this week, didn't it? Or whatever it's called in the prison.
Yeah, sure.
The other week he just decided to take the day off.
Yeah, it's fine.
So maybe life is easier for that particular strain of teaching. I don't know, but no, I don't think that he would be able to do too much to it. But I could kind of see them and having a Barlow running the Rovers could be quite...
I don't like it.
And Daisy is very much at home behind the bar there, but you are right that somebody as young as them running the Rovers does smack me as a little bit... It doesn't quite sound right. I don't know how old Steve was when he took on the Rovers the first time. He surely wasn't this young, but there needs to be a bit of age, wisdom, and... longer character development for me, because it's not the same as the Prices when they just swooped in and said, hello, and new characters were in charge of the Rovers now, which just had disaster written all over it. But I think you've really, really got to earn your stripes, and to be a proper landlord of the Rovers Return, you need to have a good few years behind you.
As a sassy barmaid. I think making her into the landlady, I wouldn't like it. I just don't think she's got the... She's feisty and stuff, but she's not got the iron core.
Do you not think?
She's going to get there, but I don't think she's there yet.
Okay, so she's got potential.
Yeah. I can see her being the landlady in, 10, 20 years' time, but she's too young now.
Okay. Well, it looks like they're not going to get their chance. You don't need to
rush into being the,
I'm just not ready to give up Jenny yet. No. And I think it was Wednesday's episode, wasn't it, when we get to see Jenny's reaction to this news.
This is why I love this.
She was also not ready
this was great.
to give up on the Rovers just yet.
So on Wednesday, Daniel's still nagging about the pub. Daisy's not giving him an answer, and she's like, oh, I don't even know if we could do this. And he's like, yes, we can. I mean, what a dick. He's like, yeah, you can do everything. I'm just going to give you the money. And if you fail at something that clearly is set up to fail, then... Again, something else to Lord. It feels like he can't really lose here, because it does genuinely feel like he's prepared to waste his entire inheritance on making Daisy look like a mug.
Making her suffer for a night of passion with Ryan that was amazing, apparently.
Well, hang on. She brought this up, and I'm surprised Daniel didn't latch onto it more, that they were planning on another evening when they went to the hotel together. Yes. What, I can't remember if that was after or before.
That was after. That's
terrible.
That time when he caught them at the hotel, she does later mention to him, we were going to do it again.
Because she keeps saying, it's only one time, but we were going to do it again. It's like, well, no, hang on now. That's a whole
just because you didn't
realm.
do it again, the fact that the intention was there, Daisy. Come on. So anyway, Daniel also tries to guilt trip her by saying, it's for the good of the community, doesn't he?
That's right. Yeah, and he's also dissing Jenny, because he's saying Jenny had a go at it and she couldn't do it, which I thought was maybe a ploy on the writer's part to make us dislike Daniel here a little bit, because it really was completely unnecessary. You
can't badmouth Jenny and get away with it.
Well, it's also her stepmom too. Like, what has Jenny done to Daniel? Nothing. Why is Daniel dissing Daisy?
Why does he think that he's going to do someone better than her?
But also, I think he was needling Jenny on Daisy on purpose, like disrespecting her boss and stepmom in a casual way to sort of put her in her place and say, I can say what I want about your family because you are beholden to me. There's nothing you can say because you're filled with guilt about what you've done, so I can slag your mum off.
I thought that the community line was interesting because from what we've seen of Coronation Street on the past 3 or 4 months, the community don't really need the Rovers after all, and Rita and Ken turned up on its final night and nobody's really seemed bothered since. You've had a couple of people walking past go, shame about that being boarded up, isn't it? Anyway, let's go to the bistro. Literally, the world has carried on turning exactly as it was before. Now the Rovers has been shut.
There should have been some scenes of people like, we'd love to go down the Rovers for a pint now, but I guess...
The fact that there are other options there just means that it really isn't needed, which makes me worry a little bit as for when it does eventually get opened. Is it going to make any difference, or is it just going to be back to the way it was? Quiet pub scenes not really being a focal point of the community anymore.
But like, if you think about it, it doesn't really make sense that no one cares as much as they seem to. Because if I'm trying to think of somewhere. Like, if I had a really lovely cafe and it was literally the end of my road and it closed, I'd be devastated. I'd be moaning about it every day. Every time I made myself a cup of tea, I'd be like, you could have gone, had a nice cup of tea up at the... I wish there was coffee.
If the opposite direction down your road, there was another fancy cafe, then you probably would get over it quite quickly.
Yeah, but nobody's saying, oh God, this is so much more expensive.
I want when the Rovers reopens again, which it obviously is going to imminently, for it to be a proper community hub again, to have the episodes end in there, to have all the stories converge together,
it's not
try and make it work with the filming blocks.
It won't happen because, like you just pointed out, the filming blocks mean that there's too many episodes in a week. That means that the action has to be spread out so they can film simultaneously.
Yeah, but you could still... I'm sure they might be able to get the odd scene.
If they really wanted to, they probably could. But I think that the convenience...
This whole story, because, as much as I've enjoyed it, well, to some extent I've enjoyed it, it has felt like it's just going to go back to a who cares... What difference is it actually made? Maybe this story was the long-term plan of MacLeod to say, you're right, we've heard what you're saying, viewers. The Rovers is a bit dead at the moment. It does need a refresh. But rather than just saying, let's put more people in the Rovers, let's have a story that will engineer a way to get more people into the Rovers. So maybe this has been the plot all along, to have a proper post-COVID Rovers refresh. I guess we'll find out soon.
Well, I don't think it's going to be Daisy and Daniel that are...
Quite possibly not.
Daniel's excited. Daniel says it's an exciting blank page for us.
No comments about that one.
Jenny is excited to hear when Daisy tells her about the fact that Daniel wants to open the pub together, and she's like, "Oh, we could run it together." And this venture could be the perfect way to show you're over Ryan and ready to start a new chapter.
That was a great scene. I love excited Jenny. I mean, if you remember her wedding when she was like a little schoolgirl marrying... Well, that sounds a bit weird.
Hang on.
When she was as giddy as a schoolgirl when she was marrying Johnny. Jenny, excited about stuff, is just joyous.
Jenny
and the fact that
she
had a face pack over her during this scene and her hair in curlers for no particular reason other than just to make it more enjoyable and funny to watch. I thought that was fab. And really interesting to see how excited she was. She does, because I initially thought that she would be like, oh really, you're going to buy the Rovers, are you? She did get there, didn't she? She's not completely happy with the idea that she's not going to be top dog anymore. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. Maybe it was just the fact that it would still be in the family she was excited about. And then sunk on her, hang on a minute, I want to be in charge.
Jenny and Daisy are in the cafe and she's getting so excited about this. And it seems to rub off a bit on Daisy. And then Daisy starts getting enthusiastic and mentions that she's going to be the new landlady of the Rovers Return, not Jenny. And then when she goes up to the counter, Jenny's still sat there and her face just falls. She's thinking, oh my God.
Did she originally think, though, that Daisy would be buying it for her? I guess maybe she did.
I don't think she really thought that she would be the landlady.
Hearing it out loud, realising that she's going to be shoved to one side, that's kind of made her see...
Well, she probably thought...
reality slapping her in the face.
That Daisy wouldn't be able to do it without her.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I don't think she can, honestly.
I don't think so either.
I mean, Jenny could barely do it. Ken stops Daisy in the street and says that Daniel's been hinting about big plans. What are they? And Daisy says, well, he wants to buy the pub. And Ken says, oh, that sounds brilliant. What with that and adopting Bertie, you're going to be very busy, aren't you? And he walks off and Daisy just freezes thinking, what is this about?
Yeah, she hasn't
adoption?
Heard of the Bertie plan yet.
No. Daniel goes to Ryan and he's like, hey, Ryan, I'm so glad you're going to Glasgow. They're both just pretending to be nice to each other. They're smiling through gritted teeth. Daisy shows up and she says, look, can I speak to Daniel, please? But then Daniel gets a phone call from Adam and says, I've got to take this. And so Ryan and Daisy are left together. And Ryan's like, Daisy, Daniel knows about us. The way he's acting to me, he must know. Watch out.
Because he knew about the video being discovered by Simon, didn't he? So he's probably had this kind of lingering worry. What if it has got out somewhere else?
Yeah, and you
this
would
is
think
his worst nightmare.
Yeah. So she's like, no, I don't think he does. No, he can't do. And he says, well, listen, there was a video of us talking and Simon might have seen it and showed Daniel. And Daisy had no idea that there was this video. So just to remind everyone, they recorded themselves talking about the affair and then Simon found it and sent it to Daniel, who brooded over it last week. And she's like, no way, I would know if Daniel knew that I cheated on him. He wouldn't be able to hide it from me. So she goes back to the flat and Daniel's like, oh, surprise, I'm here because it's training day. I've got to do this course at night for some reason. Do you remember that?
No.
He's got to do some kind of seminar at night.
I didn't remember that.
On Zoom or something. And so she starts saying to him, what about this Bertie thing? And he says, I was just talking to Dad and I got carried away, but it's a nice idea, isn't it? Because I thought you loved him.
If that's not guilt tripping, I don't know what
exactly.
is.
Exactly. She says, of course I do. And he says, look, this is the new me. I'm a go-getter. I'm not taking any prisoners. I think we should just go ahead and do it. Let's do this. Meanwhile, over at Rita's, Jenny is looking through Steve's laptop for the Rovers file that she had because she needs the information about...
Oh, yeah, that's the other storyline. But it's kind of related to this story, isn't it? Because...
Rita's saying, oh, yeah, you want to prove to Daisy that you should be in charge because you've got the experience.
Yeah.
So... Adam comes round to the flat and he's just like drawn up these adoption papers and Daisy's just like, I don't think I can do this. Like, how awful of Daniel to just spring this on Daisy like this out of nowhere. Like,
it's so romantic.
This is the most life-changing and important decision that she would ever make in her life. And even if she did want to adopt him, I think it's better. It shows more, awareness of the implications of what it is that she didn't want to sign it straight away. If I'd be worried about her if she was like, yeah, just sign it now, you know. She's actually showing more emotional maturity in this situation than Daniel is at this point because he's trying to trick her into admitting something by getting her to sign adoption papers.
But you could try and talk your way out of it if you're Daniel, because they've been together for a few years now.
Talk your way out of being... What do you mean, Daniel?
No, I'm saying that he could claim innocence and say, well, why wouldn't you want to adopt him? We've been going out for years. If Justin hadn't showed up on the morning of the wedding, we'd be married by this point. As far as I know, you've not been sleeping with Ryan or slugging him behind my back, have you? Of course not.
I don't get what you're trying to say this for.
So she's saying, you said that she should be saying, well, hold on a minute, let me think about it. But it would be fair for Daniel to say...
No, it wouldn't.
Especially if he's trying to trick her. But it would be fair for him to say, well, we are a family.
No.
What's the big deal?
No, that's so silly. What a silly thing to say.
Why?
Because you don't just spring adopting your child on someone, even if they've shown all in. This is the same thing as saying if you love me and we're living together, then I don't see why you don't want me to just say, oh, we're having a wedding right now.
Yeah, but
there's a massive difference between being in a situation and turning it into and saying this is going to be permanent in his legal document.
Do you think if they were married at this point, would it be less surprising to spring it on them?
I'm not saying the concept of adopting Bertie is surprising. I'm saying the fact that he wants to do it then and is making a big deal about the fact that she doesn't want to do it.
Well, in any case,
do you see what? Can you not see that that's weird?
Yeah, I guess so.
That's like me saying I want a dog, and then you just come in one day with a dog and go, well, sorry, you said you wanted a dog. There's a dog. By the way, you got to take it to the vets because it's ill.
Okay.
No, I didn't sign up for any of this.
Anyway, the fact is, he's not doing it innocently. He is completely
he's
manipulating
doing it on purpose.
her, which, like I said before, was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, it was hilarious. It was hilarious, really.
Because
it's not real. Daniel takes it away, like, oh, fine, you can do it another time, that's fine. And Daisy's like, hang on, maybe I'll never be able to do this. Maybe I won't want to. Because, you say they were going to get married, but... just because you marry somebody doesn't mean that you adopt their children.
No, I know.
But I think some people aren't really clear on that point. You don't just automatically become the parent of the children that when your spouse and you get married. So
this is when the confession comes out.
He's like not listening to a word she's saying when she's trying to talk to him about her feelings, and then suddenly she blurts out, "I slept with Ryan." And this was kind of... I think this pulled the rug out from underneath Daniel a little bit, because the fact that she confessed without being really forced to is a bit of a sort of tick on her side of things. Not that it excuses anything, but she did tell him of her own volition. And I don't think he wants at any point for her to get any brownie points for anything that she's done. So I think he was kind of a bit annoyed at this point that he didn't get to say that he knew.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to sort of shout it in her face. But
it depends, or did he? Because, as we said, Bertie is being a bit of a pawn in this. Was he kind of hoping that she would confess with the pen in her hand before she signed it, and it's just come a little bit differently to what he was expecting? I don't know, but his reaction after it, he was like proper peeved and, devastated for the rest of the episode, even though he'd not been told anything new.
I just want to say as well that I think there's loads of room for conflicting feelings here from Daniel, because I think he was like, there's a 1% chance this could all work out. You know? I think you can want something, you can want two different things at once, can't you? This is what Daisy's problem is. She wants Daniel and Ryan, but she can't have them both. And I think Daniel wanted revenge, but he also wanted everything to be fine. He
did. I think that in an ideal world, he'd be able to lord it over Daisy, make sure she knew that he knew.
No, but I don't
also to have a happy life with her, because he has been happy with her and he sees how good she is for Bertie.
I think somewhere inside he was kidding himself a little bit too, thinking if this turns out fine, then good. Like maybe I can forget. I think you can think two things at once. I think that's the trouble with human beings, that we're really good at.
Daniel's a very complex character anyway, isn't he?
So this has just broken the spell. So now he's sitting with his head in his hands. Daisy's grovelling, saying sorry, but then she's realised this. You don't seem surprised. I've said this. And he says, well, I always suspected this would happen. And then he starts to ask her about the hotel. And he says, and she says, he says, did you sleep together at the hotel? And Daisy says, no, it was after the time he first showed his face online. And Daniel's fuming now because he realises that even though on the video they said it was only one time, and then he thought it was at the hotel, but then he realises, no, it wasn't at the hotel. It was even further before.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'd forgotten that he's had this revelation. I didn't piece that together when we were watching.
So it's
been going on longer than he even thought it was.
Yeah.
So he's now mad. He's got a reason to be madder.
Yes, and so it opens the wounds again because he thought in his mind he had a picture of what had happened, and now that's wrong.
It's been made worse.
And now he's revisiting the concept afresh that they've slept together, and so it just sets him off. Daisy's saying, "Should I pack bags? Should I pack my bags?" And he says, "I don't want you to go." And she's swearing, "I can make this work. I'm here for you." She brings up the paperwork and then he says, "Oh, are you accusing me of trying to trap you? Did you think that this was all a trick?" And she says, "Oh, was it a test?" But it doesn't matter because we can make it through. We can make it through this. And again, just to say, just because somebody says it wasn't a trap doesn't mean it wasn't a trap. Daisy says to Daniel, "Ryan is no threat to you. He's just..." And then he's getting really mad and he accidentally quotes the video.
Did he say the amazing part? I can't.
Yeah, he does.
I think it was.
And she's like, "What did you say that for? What did you use that word for? You must have known about this already. Are you just trying to take revenge? Are you the one that lost Ryan his job at the gym?" And Daniel's like, "Maybe I did." He gets super mad. He pushes her up against the door. This was the... I'm sure this must have been conscious.
It must have been.
This is one of the most famous scenes in Corrie's history because of how much it gets used on clip shows. But the scene where William Roach pushes Anne Kirkbride against the wall.
And Johnny Briggs is there on the other side.
Yeah, Deirdre and Ken, and shouts in her face, and Anne didn't expect that to happen, and she rushes away crying.
Bill Roach always likes to say in interviews, and Anne didn't realise I was going to do that. Yeah. He's very proud of the fact that he made Anne Kirkbride.
I love how much he's proud of that, but it's also quite scary, really. So
it was. It must have been a clear reference to it.
So
because
this is like a
Daniel
remix.
And Daisy have already been seen as a bit of a new Ken and Deirdre. I hate phrases like that, but Ian McLeod loves them, so I think it is not unfair to say.
So this is fascinating then, because are we to now think that Ryan is the new Mike?
He's not really though, is he?
Exactly.
He's a bit too dumb for that. But it doesn't have to be an exact copy and paste.
No, I know.
But this absolutely showed that the apple doesn't fall far away from the tree.
But what I'm saying is, when I'm saying is this he Mike, are we now looking at the potential of a almost lifelong love triangle between these three characters? Is this going to be the new Weatherfield washing machine where we had, who was it? God, I forgot. Leanne and Nick and Carla and Peter, yeah. Are we going to have that with these characters? Is this?
I don't know.
Is this going to end?
I'm not completely averse to the idea of Daniel and Ryan having a Mike and Ken style rivalry that goes over
like
20 years.
I want something like that from this show because a lot of grudges and stuff seem to get dropped.
I wouldn't mind it, and as far as I know, and I know they're talking about Ryan going off to Glasgow, but I don't think the actor's going, and I'll be actually pretty peeved off if Ryan Prescott does leave Coronation Street so quickly, because they made such a big thing of saying, no, he's going to be wearing these prosthetics for a long time and not just disappear off after a few months like old what's-his-face off Emmerdale.
Yeah, this is what we were worried about.
I wouldn't mind. I quite like the idea. It's just Ryan isn't as compelling an opponent as Mike Baldwin was, who was the smiling, very charming, but very kind of sarcastic. No, how do we describe Mike? He was just like the wide boy, wasn't he? I've got everything.
He was swaggery.
He was proper swaggery. Ryan's not like that. So actually, Ryan's quite likeable.
The differences to me feel quite stark because Ken and Mike were the complete.
They were polar opposites, but Daniel
they weren't
and Ryan
just
aren't.
different in personality. Their entire value system was different. Mike didn't care about anything but money, and Ken thought he was above that. And, he was an anti-intellectual, and Ken was very proud of his education, etc., etc. With Ryan and Daniel, there's not enough of a pronounced difference. And the main reason that Daisy is after Ryan is because she seems to genuinely love him. And that is such a undefinable and difficult thing to portray in a TV show, Yeah. Like, I can't see why she's with him except that she loves him, and you can't really explain a lot of the times why it is in particular that you love this person and not that person. So it's not quite as dramatic and fun as, he just entranced me with his whiskey and his cigars.
But even though the Deirdre and Mike affair back in 1983 was fairly short, really, it was like a couple of months, really wasn't it? I'd certainly, rewatching bits of it, understood why Deirdre would go to Mike, because he offered her so much more excitement than Ken.
This is the difference between the two. Ryan is just saying, look, we love each other.
We both had acid thrown at us, so we should be together.
Because you don't love him as much as we love each other. Whereas with Ken and Mike, it was like, Mike was always luring her like a siren. He was always seducing her and sort of like pulling her and saying, Ken's boring, Ken's dull, he's going nowhere. Look, come with me. I can offer you this. I'll give you that. And there's nothing. Ryan's just too good of a person to be doing that to Daisy.
Yeah,
and that's what this is really missing. If you want to compare the two affair storylines, it was even more soapy back in that day.
Yeah, that was really Corrie's OG modern soap story. Really, that's what got the nation gripped. There's
not enough underhanded behaviour in this yet to make it quite as juicy.
And ironically, I wouldn't say that in this one, Ryan's the one to be underhanded. It's Daniel who's supposedly the Ken of the story. But what made another thing that made the Mike Ken Deirdre affair storyline so good was Ken's anger. That episode where he finds out and he shoves Deirdre against the door, and then he spends the episode shouting at her and, why would you go out with me, and why would you go out with a spiff like Baldwin and not me? Is it because I'm too boring? And that was one of the best Coronation Streets ever. Just Mike's rant at Deirdre Ken's rant at Deirdre and finding out about this affair. It was so good. And I don't think character wise we know enough of any of these three to have made it that good yet, but it was a nice nod, and I think that Rob Mallard did a cracking job at showing his anger and frustration, and he was very, very scary when he had Daisy up against the door there and spent the next few scenes just yelling at her in her face. I thought that was a real brilliant performance by Rob.
Yeah, so he pushes
does not Ken worthy.
He pushes her right up against the door, and she was pinned there, and she ended up landing between the handle and the hook, and that must have taken a lot of choreographing to make sure, because if this had been a different TV show, she would have been murdered by the hook going in the back of her head. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was a bit worried about her, because when I saw she was up against the wall, I was like, where's the other hook? Okay, there's not a hook there.
I hope it was choreographed, unlike the Ken Deirdre one.
True, yeah.
Imagine if Ken had, Will and Roach had accidentally skewered Anne Kirkbride. It's like, I was sorry,
it was just
made a mistake. I was just trying to improvise, but I understand now that. But it's fine because we don't have health and safety back in 1983, do we? So maybe let me off with it.
Yeah, mate, why not? So he's shouting in her face. This was actually really scary.
Yeah.
If I was her, I would have left him just for this, really.
Are we still on Daniel's side during this? Because I think, again, as a soap viewer, I still am. As much as I can't defend his manhandling of her and his kind of assault of her here, I was still going, yeah, you tell her, Daniel.
But listen.
The slag.
When he's shouting here in her face, it feels as though partly what he's so furious about is that she's picked a man who he thinks is lesser than he is. He's such a snob, he's so arrogant that he's like, why the hell are you with this guy? So he's saying, yeah, I did tell the Jim. I told the Jim the truth. He pumps himself full of drugs. He lies. He cheats. He'll do whatever he needs to get what he wants.
I I think that Daniel's a little bit jealous of Ryan because he was talking about him earlier being all muscly and everything, and I kind of got the impression that Daniel's a little bit jealous of Ryan's body and handsomeness the fact that all the girls fancy him and his physique, and he doesn't think that he would be able to be on Ovid.
This was like incel energy. This is like those horrible men that record YouTube videos and then go on a shooting spree, moaning about all these alpha males who get all the chicks.
Yeah.
And why not me? I'm a gentleman. I'm
just like that.
I like poetry. I like Shakespeare. Why? How dare you go off with a man who doesn't even know what a sonnet is?
Hasn't even heard of Seamus Heaney.
Exactly. So he's mad, and he says he pumps himself full of drugs. He lies. He cheats. What has Daniel ever done? Daniel's done so many things that are equal in badness to all of these things, and he still thinks he's morally superior because he's got this.
He's pushed his dad down the stairs, he's put Mash down the stairs, he's done drugs before as well.
He's so arrogant and he's so convinced of his own superiority that he's just furious. He's not just mad that Daisy cheated on him, he's mad that he cheated on him with somebody that doesn't share his values. And that I don't think he'll ever admit that to himself. But that's why he's mad.
Yeah.
So he's like, I've done Ryan a favour. He should go to Glasgow. And then she says, oh, you want to be the only tragic bloke in town. And she's hinting about Sinead. And she's now furious too. Because she's realised where a lot of Daniel's hatred is coming from is just hating Ryan for who Ryan is. And obviously that's not going to resonate with her because she quite likes Ryan for who Ryan is. She tells him he's not fit to clean the muck off Ryan's shoes. And he's like, get out! And so she leaves. And Daniel goes to number 1 and he speaks with Ken and Adam. And I love how Adam is just, so supportive. He's like, yeah, just move on from her. You don't need her anymore. Like, no matter what he thinks of Daisy, he's just ready to totally back Daniel up.
Yeah, but 100%. He also, he's been through many women in his time.
Well, he's coming at it from the perspective of somebody who's just been cheated on. Like, women are trash.
Yeah, exactly.
We should get together, Daniel. People are dying for an incest story on this show. Ten's like, listen, don't throw this all away. This is a big decision. You need to really think about this.
Ken's
like, let's not.
Ken likes Daisy and thinks
it's not the end of the road just because you pushed her against a door.
Yeah, Tidra and I had many happy years after that. We were still together another 20 years.
Why don't you take her on a caravan holiday?
No, 30 years almost.
Daisy's at Rita's later and she's fuming away about Daniel, and the scales have fallen off her eyes a little bit here. And Jenny's saying, I can see Daniel's point. She offers Daisy a hug when she starts crying, and Daisy just feels awful, like she's let everybody down. Meanwhile, Daniel's returned to his flat. He's all alone. Where's Bertie? Don't know. Has he found a new woman already to adopt him? He's pouring himself a whiskey and looking quite regretful.
Daniel, that is not Bertie.
Bertie's like, I've just decided to adopt myself. Did you ever watch that movie about that kid that did that in the 90s? Remember that?
No.
Emancipation.
I have not seen that.
No, that was what he did. On Friday, Daisy is still in Rita's flat because I thought she'd end up with Ryan sleeping in Carla's flat, but it makes more sense that she ended up with Jenny and Rita.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I didn't really think of that.
No, I've loved how Rita's flat's had a bit of a renaissance in recent weeks. Well, since the Rovers has closed, because this was a set that we hadn't seen for years. It was a bit like how we never saw number 3 for years before the Baileys got it. And Rita's, the longest running we haven't seen it set is clearly Brian's flat at the moment, which is, I'm going to say, going on 10 years probably since we've seen that. But nice to see Rita's.
Yeah, so this Rita's flat has taken the place of the Rovers' back room.
Yeah, basically. Except this one's got nice Weatherfield Nightingale pictures on the wall. Which,
that's right.
Who could hate those?
Not Johnny and Jenny penguins.
No.
So she's kicking herself, is Daisy, and Jenny says, you need to decide who you want. And this has been Jenny's thing all the way through. She's not judged Daisy for any of this, but she's just said, you have to make a decision. You cannot keep flitting between these two men. And Daisy says, I need to sort things out with me and Daniel. So she wants to go back with him. It's crazy. What's she doing that for?
She just...
Do you not think that she
does kind of love him? She's torn between two men. I think she loves Daniel, but she feels this bond, and I still don't really get it. Just because they were involved in this attack, she thinks that means that we can bonk. I trauma join. I don't know, but I think Daniel, she realizes she was onto something good there, and there's still a chance to get it back.
Yeah, I'm. So you think that it should be Daisy and Daniel?
I when all this is over, and I don't think it is going to happen, but I would prefer for Daniel and Daisy to be the couple together at the end. Because I've invested in them now, and I haven't invested in Daisy and Ryan.
And Ryan still feels like the other man to me.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel like the one... Yeah. But they've not really had a chance.
I wouldn't wish Crystal on Ryan for having what a dull character she is.
I'm so sorry.
But I think that it's a more interesting relationship to see Daisy and Daniel together. Maybe Ryan and Daisy would be more suited with their interests and their levels of attractiveness and social media.
Are you really saying that Ryan's more attractive than Daniel?
Well, no, he's somebody who prides himself on his looks, unlike Daniel.
He invests more time and effort, but clearly they both do, because Daniel's not handsome by accident.
No.
I'm just saying, we're supposed to believe that he does it, he's above it, but he obviously isn't.
I see more chemistry, genuine chemistry, honestly, between Daisy and Daniel than I do Daisy and Ryan, and it's more interesting to boot as well. And I've got the investment. I've got lots of reasons why I want it to be Daisy and Ryan at the end of this. I mean, are you the same, or would you rather...
It's a legacy. It feels like a legacy relationship, whereas Daisy and Ryan doesn't.
Yeah.
And
it's not that legacy. They've only been together for a few years.
No, but it's the sort of thing that I can feel like if they both stay in the show for a prolonged period of time, it would be a mistake not to have them together, because they could be the new insert whatever stupid combination you want to insert in.
Yeah.
But we did a poll on our Twitter, and I said, who do you want to be together, and Daisy and Ryan got 31%, Daisy and Daniel got 35%, and I also threw in Ryan and Daniel, and that got 34%. So
more people want Daniel and Ryan together than Daisy and Ryan. But
really does
it was
feel
fairly even split there, at least.
387 votes, so quite a lot of people voted there, and
thanks.
I think Ryan and Daisy is just a tragic romance that will never go anywhere.
I think once the excitement wears off, Daisy would realise, hang on a minute, I was onto a good thing with Daniel.
A lot of it was also because, and I know you hate this, but because Daniel wasn't paying Daisy enough attention, and she was captured by somebody that
he was very busy. He's a teacher.
Yeah, well, listen, it's dangerous to take someone for granted.
I know.
Okay. Just saying.
Anyway, back to the story before this gets any closer to a critique of our state of affairs.
So she wants to be back with Daniel, and Jenny says, well, then you need to really think carefully about what you're going to say. There's a lot at stake here. You've got to word it perfectly. Ken goes over to Daniel, and he's trying to see, look, it's only one time Daisy slept with someone. Do you want to throw everything away over this? You're going to need patience. And this comes from one of the great philanderers of the street, Ken. He's like, look, why don't you shag about too? It's no big deal, I'm telling you. It works out fine in the end. Look at me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take a love advice from Ken Barlow, except if he's like, look, I'm telling you what not to do, because that's what I did.
I can see Ken saying that, but to many, many, many people, once is enough. Isn't it?
Once is enough.
And it's enough to show, even if you could forgive that, then there'd always be the lingering idea in your head.
Well, some people will never be able to forgive somebody, and some people will.
I think lots of people would never be able to. Yes. So lots of people wouldn't even be able to forgive a kiss, let alone...
Well, no, exactly. So Jenny's working in the shop, and Carla comes in, and she's sensing a bit of frostiness, and she blurts out about what's happened between Daniel and Daisy and Ryan, and Carla turns out she didn't even know, she's just being a bitch, because that's who she is. And this was a bit awkward and quite funny, because Carla Jenny was Carla's stepmom technically at one point, but she's also Daisy's stepmom, and now she's involved in both ends of this family feud that's kicking off.
Yeah, she's kind of like the person in the middle. I suppose she's more on Daisy's side.
She's more on Daisy's side, but she's got links to the Barlows.
In the other pie as well.
And also the Connors.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't have links to the Barlows at all, does she? Only through Daisy.
Yeah.
This was just mind-boggling. If you stop to think about how everybody's interconnected, you would have to get a pen and paper out, probably. Daisy turns up the flat and Daniel kicks Adam and Ken out so they can talk. And he's got a bag there with all her clothes in it. She sees this. But she's hopeful that he'll forgive her. And she starts grovelling. I swear I love you. I swear I love Bertie. And then he says, well, what about Ryan? Do you love him too? So she tries turning it back on him. And she says, look, you've done things you regret. And he's like, no, I'm not having any of this. I want you to tell me, do you love Ryan? And she won't say no. But she just says, I don't love him the same way I love you. And he's like,
Silly
no.
Woman.
You were literally told by Jenny to be very careful about your wording. But I guess she's being honest. And that's the most important thing at this stage, isn't it? There's no point going into it lying.
Well, it does bring up the whole thing of, can you love more than one person? And lots of people would say, no, not in that way. You can't. She's saying
she doesn't love them in the same way.
Yeah.
Now, but you can admit, or I think it's fairly widely sort of understood, that there are different stages of love in a relationship or a marriage, aren't there? There's like the very beginning when you're obsessed with each other, and then there's the bit where you're just kind of best friends.
And you can't say the honeymoon period is over for Ryan, for Daisy and Daniel yet. They've not even got through to the honeymoon.
No, I know. Yeah, it's a bit worrying then, isn't it? But I can see what she's trying to say here. Like, there's this kind of hormonal kind of attraction.
But how on earth she thinks that this is
sexual.
going to... What does she think Daniel's reaction to this is going to be? Say, oh, okay, that's fine. So you don't live in the same as me, so that's all right then, as long as you love me the most. No. What a stupid thing for her to say.
No, but I think she's right to say it, because she shouldn't lie. And if he can't... But the thing is, if she's coming to him and saying, I'm telling you the honest truth here, I love Ryan, I love you, I'm choosing you. If it's not enough for you, then it can't work. And I think the implication...
Be enough for Daniel.
No, I know. It shouldn't be enough for anyone, really. But the implication, surely, is that this love I have for Ryan will diminish.
Yeah. I suppose so.
Can you wait for that to happen? You know? It's so exciting.
Then we had the scene with Jenny and the bonbons and Ruby in the shop. I don't know whether this can... I've written it here in the notes.
This kind of feeds in a little bit to Jenny sort of realising that she's not top dog anywhere. So
oh yes, it was, wasn't it?
Ruby and Rita and Jenny are in the sweet in the corner shop, and Ruby's trying to pick sweets, and she keeps changing her mind. And Jenny's up a ladder, kind of picking down the bonbons, and she's getting mad.
I loved, because the camera was right close on Jenny, wasn't it, with Ruby down in the background, and she was giving her best Jenny Bradley grimaces behind Ruby's back to her.
Ruby's turning into a bit of a brat, isn't she?
She is a little bit.
Do you remember, we never mentioned it on the podcast, but didn't she have that list of words that you're not allowed to say anymore?
Last week she did, yeah. I think she's not had enough screen time for me to make a decision on her yet. She's certainly better than old Ruby was at the end of her tenure. There's no denying that. But I enjoyed her in this scene. What really wound me up this week about Ruby was that scene towards the end of the week where she was banging on the pots and pans in the lounge at number 9. Do you remember?
No.
When Evelyn came in, it was like one of the last scenes of the week, and Ruby was there banging on some upturned saucepans for no reason other than just to be a bit annoying. It's like...
I like how
clearly didn't stick with you though.
Absorbed she is. I think children should all be very self-obsessed. That's what you should be when you're a kid.
Well, just Ruby wants to be a star, doesn't she?
No awareness of anyone but yourself.
She's a little big shot. She's up there.
Yeah, good for you, Ruby. You take as long as you want to pick what bonbons you want.
But you're right, this did feed into Jenny realising, well, I'm not in charge in the cabin, I'm not in charge at the Rovers, I need to be in charge somewhere.
What's my purpose? Yeah. Ryan finds Daisy. Where is she? She's brooding. She's in the brooding gardens.
Brooding gardens of Victoria.
And she fills him in on what's going on, including the fact that Daniel messed up a gym job for him. And then Carla walks past and she sees them together and she's like, oh, no, you stay away from this Daisy. What would Crystal think?
Are a wrecking ball.
Yeah, what would Crystal think if she knew that you two were up to this? And so Carla drags him away and Daisy's left crying.
Yeah, she sheds a few tears on Friday, I mean.
A week. Daisy goes down to the cabin and gets more advice from Jenny and has she needs to lie down. And then we have Ryan and Crystal. God, Crystal, this finally broke me this week.
You can't watch her, can you? She just gets on your right nerve. It doesn't take much for Crystal to say anything for you to crack.
I'm really sorry, but she reminds me of Beaker the Muppet. When she talks, all I hear is me 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 me.
Scouse Beaker.
Ryan and they're having a drink. He's angry, and Daniel's there, and he's also angry, and so. They go. I don't know who goes over to who, but it looks like they're spoiling for a fight. But Debbie and Adam break everything up, and Crystal and Ryan go off in the street. She's like me 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 me, and Ryan says, "Okay, yes, we should leave." And they go out, and then Daniel follows them, and he's clearly in the mood for a fight, and so were we, weren't we?
We were. We haven't had a proper fight really all year, and when we were putting together the nominations for the Ecky Thump Award on the Conversation Street Awards, it was really slim pickings. But when this started building up on Friday, I thought, oh, we put the awards on a little bit too early. This could have been a nomination, but. And you said last week on the podcast you wanted a Ryan and Daniel fight, didn't you? You were looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And when it started, I was like, oh, brilliant. But it felt like it was over before it began,
didn't
unfortunately.
Scratch my itch.
There was nothing there that is going to make that fight go down as one of Corrie's legendary brawls. No. It was just a bit of a punch on the cobbles. They get dragged away from each other. It did the job, but there was nothing iconic about that fight.
No,
at a time where fights are few and far between, I would prefer it if Coronation Street did just a little bit more make them stand out more.
I really, really needed a big, proper, extended Peter versus Chicken fight.
Peter versus Chicken?
Yeah, from Family Guy.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were talking about Peter Barlow.
Peter Barlow.
Peter and Nick,
chicken.
I think you're saying.
No.
We
needed people throwing each other on the ground and picking each other up.
There was literally a prop on standby there. The Coronation Street cameras keep picking up that knitted hat on top of the pillar box. Now, I would just say that Daniel should have gripped it off the top of the pillar box, put it over Ryan's face and just tried to suffocate him with it. Yeah. But sadly, it was too many holes in it for that to fully work.
Grabs a Christmas tree and beats
There were
Daniel
literally props
death.
On standby, but they just went with their fists.
I think
it was over before you know it.
A proper funny Christmas. I know this is not funny, but it would be. It breaks the tension a little bit, don't you think? And this didn't feel like it really did. But grabbing proper, like you say, the thing on top of the post box. I want to see someone throw a wreath like a frisbee at someone else's face. Don't you?
Let's get Audrey's wreath in the salon. You seen that one with the hair curlers in it?
Yeah, that's dangerous.
Whoever in the prop department put that together, I salute you for
that.
Audrey's wreath, brilliant.
But so this didn't scratch the itch.
No.
But
But it was better than any other fight this year, just by the fact that there hasn't been one, other than a little bit of a pushing and shoving at Shelley's funeral and a couple of punches here and there.
Well, Bristol's there, confused, like me. She doesn't realise that this affair stuff's going on, and the gym job, and that he wanted to take the gym job, but he couldn't get it because Daniel's.
Saying, you were telling me that this was the first scene that this story had in a week, and now you're telling me you've been having revelations all since Monday.
Me. Exactly. So she's fuming, and she's like, "Leave me alone, me." Daisy, I thought this said gets a Saki dressing gown from Debbie.
No, dressing down.
So Debbie, because
what does a Saki dressing gown look like?
I don't know, one that's like lazy bitch or something written on it. She's like, "Here you go, Daisy. I thought this would suit you." Debbie obviously has an affinity for Ryan. She kind of feels like his auntie or something, because of the. What?
Yeah, for no particular reason other than Ryan kind of needed someone. And
they were in dire straits together, and he ended up in prison.
Yeah,
and sort of saved her bacon. She's got this gratitude towards him, and so she gets a tongue lashing from Debbie in the street, and this is how Daisy finds out.
Leanne was there for the fight as well, wasn't she? She just seemed to be spectating this one. Considering what Leanne can sometimes be like, she was very restrained.
You can't drag a Battersby away from a fight.
No.
Drawn in like a moth to a flame. So Daisy goes to see if Ryan's all right. What a great idea, Daisy. Good job. So goes to see him in the flat alone, and he tells her about the mess with Crystal. And Daisy's like, I wish I could make it okay. And they're like, oh, we're so sad together. And they look at each other. Oh, if only things are different. Ryan says, would you accept if Daniel gave you another chance? And she says yes. And then he's like, well, can you leave me alone, please? And then they get another look, if only things are different. And she leaves. And Adam sees her leaving the flat, which is not going to help, is it? No. So again, Daisy's clearly telling Ryan that she picks Daniel. She picks Daniel.
She tells him that. Her words say that. But the fact really, that she went there first.
No, but really, Michael, that if they decided to make a go of things, it would solve all their problems. It's the easy solution, but it's clearly not what she wants. Otherwise, she would have gone with it.
I know.
There's nothing standing in her way now, really. So I wonder now, has she realised that she doesn't want Ryan at all now?
I think that she does see the benefits of sticking with Daniel and Bertie.
But the unspoken thing is, if Daniel didn't take you back, would you have me? And he never asked her that. But I think he doesn't want to be second choice, which, obviously. Yeah. So Daisy's trying to persuade Crystal to take Ryan back and bugger off to Glasgow, and Crystal meets up with Ryan outside the kebab shop, and she's cooled down a bit, and he says, I want to get away from here. I want to go to Glasgow with you. I want to get away from Daniel and Daisy and everything. Can I?
He offers to come with her, yeah.
And she says, me. So they're both going, but he's on his last chance. That's what she just said. Meanwhile, Daisy's trying again with Daniel, wanting to give him another chance, to give her another chance. But he knows that she heard about the fight and went straight to Ryan instead of going to him.
Because Adam's clearly intercepted into the situation.
He can't be dealing with this. He says, we're over. So Daisy's crying, and she goes outside. She looks up at the flat where he is, and then she sees Ryan and Crystal going off together, laughing, and she's just left with nothing, isn't she? At the end of this, she's left with nothing.
Yeah, blubbering down the street. Everyone else is happy. Well, Ryan and Crystal are happy enough. Daniel's clearly not happy, but he's
told her where to go.
He's seen her true colours, exactly. So back she goes to Rita's, and
naughty. Wow, what will happen now? So the Rovers' plan is completely off, because unless Daniel buys it for himself, just to
spite Daisy, and so then you're fired.
To run it.
Yeah.
So where's that going? Nowhere.
Nowhere for now.
I think we've spoken enough about this as we were talking about it.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Some nice character-driven scenes where we got to see, have a real insight into Daniel and Daisy's and Ryan's point of views. Got a little bit of extra added in from Ken. I loved it. I thought it was fab.
I thought this was really great, and I really like how morally grey everybody is. Nobody's come out of this well. There's no hero here. There's no sad, put upon, tragic victim, except for maybe Ryan. Ryan's the most... I think that
he's innocent in that he wasn't cheating on anybody when he slept with Daisy.
Well, I don't.
But he still knew that he was getting in the way of what she had with Daniel.
But he's not done anything underhanded or manipulative, and almost
he's not
everybody
clever
else
enough.
Has.
Yeah. This is what happens when you get master manipulators like Daniel and Daisy together in a relationship.
You should stay away from him, Ryan. It's not worth it. But don't go out with Crystal, for goodness sake.
Right. Well, should we move on to the next story then? As we have talked about this for almost an hour and a half at this point. So on to what's going on at number 9.
Okay. Dog trouble.
Yes, exactly.
So what happened last time?
Evelyn stole a dog.
Evelyn took a dog from a van because somebody was abusing the dog. Yeah. And they've decided on Monday that to call it Taylor, Ruby and Hope. Taylor Swift?
Yeah. No, this is clearly named after Corrie icon Mummy Taylor.
Oh, yeah, Mummy. Oh, no, in Peep Show they ate Mummy.
Taylor is...
Do you remember?
I don't remember that.
They ate the dog.
I know, but I haven't watched Peep Show through about 6 times, the same as you. I'm sorry. No. I don't think Taylor's a dog's name. Sorry to anyone who might have a dog out there called Taylor. It just doesn't strike me as very doggy. But it is very apt for girls of a certain age to just name a canine after, or any pet, after whoever's famous at the time. So maybe.
Typical.
Anyway, we don't get to know Taylor for too long, do we? Because she's gone halfway through this episode.
Tyrone is saying, because Hope got a nose stud with Granny Cassie.
Oh, yeah.
And he's saying, take that stud out. And also, I'm not happy that Taylor's here.
Not Tyler. Tyler, he's back. Tyler Jeffries, the reformed dodgy...
Oh, I was thinking Steven Tyler, the musician.
No.
As the girls get ready for school, Hope is still refusing to take her stud out. Meanwhile, Evelyn has had another encounter with Terry, and I forgot who they were talking about halfway through the week, because I forgot his name was Terry. And when Tyrone was talking about Terry coming to beat him up, I was like, is he coming back?
Yeah, well, Terry Duckworth.
Yeah.
Well, Tyrone has had beef with Terry Duckworth in the past, doesn't he?
He doesn't do well with Terry.
He does not, yeah. Tyrone and Terry.
Yeah. Bad. So...
I don't know whether it's been in the show long enough now, or whether we've probably even talked about this before. I think we have. Are they overusing the precinct? Are you getting bored of the precinct yet? It's not been a year, and it feels like, the coincidence of Evelyn just happening to keep on bumping into Terry there.
Why?
I don't know. I just feel it's like they've changed the coincidental bumping into place from Victoria Street to the precinct now. Okay. And I guess it's nice to know that they get out and they're not just locked and they go away from their immediate environs. But I'm starting to, when the precinct comes onto this scene, go, oh God, here we go again.
Is it because you think it's really far away?
No, I don't, because in my head I partly think it's just around the corner because I know it is on the set. But they're not overusing it, clearly, but despite the amount they're using it, it feels overused because it just is a stand-in for anywhere else now. And when I would like it to be out of Manchester. But anyway, so that's just me moaning.
It'd be weirder if they were like, I don't know, walking around Exchange Square or something.
No, it wouldn't. That be nice.
No, and what? And they bump into each other.
Oh, okay. I suppose it's better than the alternative of saying not showing the scenes, because that's certainly possible, to have had Evelyn come back and said, oh, I bumped into in the precinct today, it was that guy Terry. But I don't know. I just find anything to moan about. So let's move on.
Well, that's the name of the game, isn't it? By the very process of having a podcast, we've immediately forced ourselves into a situation whereby we overanalyse the entire show.
To moan at.
You guys all know this.
You can moan about my coughing all the way through the episode if you like, listeners. Give me a taste of my own medicine.
Oh, no, I can't take it.
And if the medicine works on coughs, then yes, please, I'd love it. Because I've been having this Benylin, what is it? Lemon and honey mucus relief thing all week, and I don't think it's had any effect whatsoever.
Yeah, but when you go to the pharmacist and they always ask you, is it a chesty cough or what's the other thing?
Throaty cough.
And I always say it's both.
No, well, I said that I'd been coughing up phlegm. Sorry, TMI for some of you there. And she said, oh, you sounds like this is a chesty cough.
Is that what a chesty cough is? Because I remember, and the pharmacist just gave me this dirty look and she said, well, it can't be both because they're opposite. And I'm like, well, you haven't explained what you mean. I don't get what the difference is.
This is definitely a chesty cough that I have.
Comes from my chest and goes out my throat. I'm confused.
Right, come on. We're already running late.
That's bothered me for years.
We're 2 days late on this podcast.
We're 2 days late. It doesn't matter now. Right, so she has this encounter with Terry. He accuses her of stealing his dog, and she says, no, I haven't. And he says, I'll find you.
I'm going to track you down like a dog.
Back at number 9, Hope and Cassie find that Taylor's just torn up the place. No wonder he was beating this dog. It's misbehaving.
The thing is, how can you tell when number 9 has been torn apart by a dog?
I think it was Ruby.
So I think Taylor was trying to tidy up.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm going to be living here,
this is a state.
That lives inside the cupboard.
Yeah, and they're like, what? Somebody's tidied everything up. This place is a mess. We're not going to find anything ever again. So
we just like to have everything out on the floor where we can see it.
Well, like I always say, if you store things on the floor, they automatically sort chronologically from newest to oldest. So Cassie decides she's going to take the dog for a walk because it's clearly, got cabin fever, and even though it's risky, she's going to take it out. At the bus stop...
It's risky because you know how these coincidental encounters happen on this programme.
Don't go near the precinct. I don't think it's a coincidence that you meet somebody again that you met in the same place you met them the first time. That's not a coincidence because clearly Evelyn goes to the charity shop all the time and this guy obviously has business in the precinct.
I'm saying he loves a good sweet enough.
I reckon so.
Yeah.
He's always there for those who fiend for the milkshakes. So... At the bus stop, Sam's telling Hope that she should take the stud out of her nose for a quiet life. Do you think he just likes a little bit of a punk girlfriend there?
No, he doesn't. He likes her au naturel.
No, I think he secretly likes it. Across the street, Evelyn's chasing behind Cassie, telling her, "Don't take the dog out. Terry's on the prowl." And then he's there watching them from behind the post box. Inside, Tyrone tells Evelyn that they need to take Taylor to the rescue centre. And she says, no way, they're just going to check the microchip and then she's going to end up back with this evil man. In the cafe, Evelyn is trying to get Roy to take Taylor in. And he says, no, Freddie's very highly strung and they wouldn't get on with each other. And also, I'm scared of Terry. Evelyn gets upset, leaves Taylor with Roy to take to the rescue centre because she can't bear to do it herself. Later on, Tyrone tells Cassie that Hope's been sent home because of the piercing in her nose. And Cassie says, it's just self-expression. And Tyrone is saying, look, the last thing Hope needs is getting into trouble at school. She's already an arsonist. She doesn't need to be a punk.
Yeah.
All these punks with their nose rings. Awful.
It's the last week of term. She should have just, attached a bit of tinsel to it and said it was decoration.
Can you not just put a plaster on it?
No, it's easier to send them home from school.
I've got an idea I don't know if anyone else has thought of this, for how to hide your nose stud if you're not supposed to have one at school. Make it look like a giant spot. I'm going to sell a range of giant spots.
Just put a little cap over the top of it.
A cap on the top, and it's like, you can't exclude me because I've got a spot on my nose, miss. But
that's not going to make her cool, is it?
And then what you could do for a double bluff is put a sticking plaster over it, and the teacher will be like, why have you got a sticking plaster on your nose? You got a nose ring. And you say, no, look. And then they're like, oh, sorry.
Well, anyway, that's not what happened.
Well, this is a great business idea.
Next up we had the drama in the shop, didn't we? We had this hostage drama, which you hated.
I didn't hate it. I just thought it was, why are we going from 0 to 100 here for no reason?
Because they really, really, really want to let us know, if we weren't sure already, that Terry is a wrong un. Taking poor old ladies hostage.
I know. So...
You lost where we are in the notes.
Evelyn's in the shop. Terry comes in, where's my dog? And then he locks the door and advances on her. And he's in her face saying, where's my dog? I want my dog. Pins her against the wall. Dev comes in because he's left his keys.
No, he doesn't come in. He's hurrying down the street and looking through the post box, isn't he?
Dev's trying to get in.
Yeah.
Terry grabs her from behind, puts his hand over her mouth, and Dev's looking through the letterbox. Evelyn escapes his grasp, shouts for help. Gary and Dev then try to barge in. I loved Gary being heroic, and Dev as well. He lets himself out the back, and then Evelyn opens the door, and she's crying. Then Terry's still on the rampage. He finds Tyrone, punches him to the floor. Then Ken comes over.
Oh yeah, Ken's like, I'll save you, Tyrone.
It's like, look, sorry, Ken, the heroics were Gary and Dev. You're just a bystander, really. So, Evelyn, Dev and Tyrone are in the shop later, and Dev seems to think that Terry was trying to rob the place, but then they're not going to tell him the truth. And then when he leaves, Tyrone tells Evelyn that she needs to keep her mouth shut about this and not tell the police, because she actually committed a crime when she stole the dog in the first place. And Evelyn says that Tyrone just needs to tell Officer Craigie the truth. So when they were talking to the police, I think, Tyrone pretends he doesn't know who Terry was, and he just thinks it was a shoplifter.
Yeah. He says that there was a shoplifter. Have you forgotten what happened in this story? I have. You've completely and utterly forgotten what happened.
I didn't go for much on it.
It's
Craig, isn't it? And he leaves, he sees the dog bowl, And Tyrone's like, oh, they just put the bowl out because they want a new dog. Tyrone, you dummy. Freddie is Evelyn's part-time dog. Can't you say it's Freddie's bowl?
It's fine. So Tyrone could have said anything there and Craig would have bought it.
Yeah.
You know, he's not one for spotting lies, which one might say is a bit of a downside considering the job that he's in.
I think it helps you avoid
poor
paperwork.
old, naive, ignorant, gullible Craig is like, okay, nothing to see
Tyrone
here.
says, this is just the latest way to drink water because it makes you more mindful of when you're consuming it.
Yeah,
you have to lean
next
down.
scene is Craig putting himself a dog bowl on the floor of his flat and having a lick.
Later on, Tyrone tells Hope that she can get a nose ring if she's on her best behaviour for the next 6 months. But she has to take the stud out now. And she buys this.
I think that, I think that she would have not gone for it. 6 months, she has to be on her best behaviour. She should know that she's not going to be able to manage that.
Well, this is what Tyrone says later.
And is a ring really that much better than a stud?
Yeah, so Tyrone's strategy here is that she won't be able to behave herself. So
yeah.
She's never going to get her nose ring back.
Evelyn, I don't think it's worth all that effort of best behaviour just to
Michael,
be able to
when
get
you're a
this.
kid, you don't understand things like this or time spans. You know you don't. How many times were you like, oh, I promise I'll be really good if I can X, Y, and Z? And your parents are like, no. And you're like, Mom, it's not fair. And you truly believe that you would do it, but you wouldn't.
I didn't even think that Hope was the one that really wanted the nose piercing anyway. It was more Cassie saying, well, I'm going to get one and wouldn't you like one too? But maybe it's Hope's new obsession.
It was Hope.
I suppose it's a safer obsession than setting things on fire. So I think Tyrone should really encourage it. Well, exactly.
Maybe she's trying to make a massive hole in her nose so she can vape out of the hole. That'd be quite funky.
Perhaps.
Evelyn's with Roy, telling him about the day and saying, I feel a bit unsettled here. And Roy gives her arm a rub and offers her to walk her back to Roy's. Oh dear.
No, to Tyrone's.
Sorry. She gets home and Tyrone tells Cassie about what's happened and that he didn't tell the police the total truth about who Terry was. And Tyrone says, well, he's probably going to leave us alone now because he's taking his anger out on me. And Evelyn and Cassie hope he's right.
That was a very naive thing to say as well. Why would you just assume that this person who's clearly got a vendetta against you and wants you to give them his dog back, just say, oh, I'll give up. I've punched you. So that's, Gemma's nodding, she agrees.
Yeah, sorry.
I
don't think that this is allowed in the story. But I think Terry genuinely likes his dog. I know that he's mean to it, but I think people can be mean to things they love, can't they?
Well, I think so.
But, obviously he shouldn't have a dog. But I think that the idea that he's just motivated by material revenge is a bit strange.
Well, no, he's worried at the end of the week because Evelyn suspects that he's running an illegal puppy farm. So the reason why he wants this dog back is to keep the puppy farm under wraps, I would say.
Is it a female dog?
Yeah.
I think you'd tell if it was a breeding dog. On Wednesday...
But it might just be a new puppy. I don't know how old Taylor's supposed to be. I don't know.
On Wednesday, Hope is finding lots of chores to do and try to get in Tyrone's good side. And Evelyn's also being nice to him because she feels guilty about him getting punched
the other day. And
Terry turns up at the garage again. Wants my dog, give it to me now.
Has that idea gone then, Tyrone? We'll never see Terry again.
It's my
3
number.
scenes into the next episode.
Give it to me. I want it by 6 o'clock. Back at home, Tyrone tells Evelyn, and she gives him the name and address of the rescue centre that Taylor's at, and if he goes now he could get her back by 6, but he comes back and he's reported Terry to the police and he lied about the dog and said it ran away. Tyrone found later that Terry's been taken in for questioning, and Cassie's like, great. And Tyrone says that he's going to say it was self-defence, and Evelyn's worried that she's going to get in trouble because she stole the dog. On Friday, Cassie springs out Evelyn, armed with a wine bottle, and she opens the front door because they're all nervous about Terry turning up again. And because he's been released from the police. And then later on, they're still worried about Terry turning up. But he doesn't.
Your disinterest with this storyline couldn't be more clear from your synopsis.
Where did you write down that it was a puppy farm? I missed that. I remember them talking about the dog was expensive.
Yes, I don't know where that is actually. You're right. I must have written that on the end of a notes for another story. But yeah, basically, Evelyn they find out that from Roy that a dog that's a similar breed to Taylor has been put up for sale online, and it's worth like £1,500. And so Evelyn's like, well, this makes absolutely no sense. Why didn't he try and why hasn't he reported me for stealing the dog when he could have lost all this amount of money? Clearly he must be running an illegal puppy farm. And that's how that story ends.
Okay, none of that makes sense.
Why?
Well, for a starter, you wouldn't take your dog which was a breeding dog, out and about with you.
You might do.
No, why would you? It would be at home with the puppies.
Okay.
Number 2, not to be too graphic, but there are very obvious physical signs in female dogs if they are being used as breeders.
Only if you know what you're looking out for?
No, it would just be very obvious. You would be able to tell. It doesn't make any sense. And why would he care about one dog? Like, no, okay. Puppy
it's like
farms,
the parable of the lost sheep, innit?
Puppy farms
obviously keep working
exist
until he finds that last little dog.
What?
No, go on, carry on.
Puppy farms obviously exist, and people that run them are horrible, and this Terry clearly could be that kind of person.
He's terrible.
But none of the rest of what he's done and how he behaved and what he did with the dog kind of really makes much sense to me about that being a clue that he's a puppy breeder.
I suppose we'll get to see more of it in tomorrow's episode.
They've leapt to a conclusion, which probably will probably be true because
I did think that conclusion was leapt to fairly quickly.
And the fact that this dog cost $1,500 is not really a large amount of money for a dog these days, unfortunately. For some reason, dogs just cost so much money now.
I'm surprised that you've not been into this storyline. All the characters that are involved are ones that we enjoy. There's a dog. Go on. You don't know why I don't like a storyline that involves a dog being abused. But it's not really about a dog being abused, is it? It's about a puppy farm and a man that beats his dog. Yeah, but that's only been a small element of it so far. It's mostly been Evelyn, putting on a detective's cap and trying to find out the mystery, and Tyrone getting punched in the face, and Hope having a nose stud, and it's just been involving a lot of characters that we really enjoy. It's felt like a very kind of low stakes, normal sort of story, and I know it's not a run-of-the-mill thing to unearth an illegal puppy farm, but it feels like a world away from the usual romance dramas that every other character seems to be going through at the moment. I've been really enjoying it. It's silly. And also at one point they said it was an illegal dog. Yeah. Which is like, you can't have an illegal dog. He doesn't have a passport. What are you talking about? Was it come over on a boat or something? What do you mean? Okay, well, I think it's good. Daily Mail's gonna crap their pants when they find out they're illegal dogs as well. I'm kind of hoping, and yet not at all expecting, to have some scenes at the puppy farm and just having a little cage full of little cute dogs yapping about the place. I mean, it is Christmas. Come on, Coronation Street. What? Let's have a bit of that. I'm going to complain to Ofcom. Do you think that... their puppy farm. Do you think that number 9 will be adopting one of these dogs? Do you think that Taylor's going to stay with him in the end, or is it just going to have a happy forever home elsewhere? You're just not interested in it, are you? Exactly not at all. I don't get it. There's Evelyn, who we love. There's Tyrone, big fan of him. Cassie, I think it's still just early days, but I like her. It's such a cartoony. It just feels like it's just a cartoon villain, isn't it? It's like, oh, look at this horrible man. He's a puppy mill wrangler. Like what? Okay. It's interesting because when we had that Zoom call. The Coronation Street Press Zoom call with Ian McLeod a couple of months ago, and he was saying, oh, such and such going to happen, and everyone's going to do dark things, or Amy's going to do something dark, and Daniel's going to do something dark, and everyone's going to do something dark. But also, there's going to be a puppy farming storyline around Christmas, because everybody likes puppies, don't they? And I was like, oh, I'm not interested in that. Why is it have to be another dog story? Why can't it be something about cats? But actually watching it, I'm actually very much enjoying it and finding it an enjoyable piece of respite from all the other heavy dramas, which I'm not enjoying. I've really enjoyed the Daniel and Daisy and Ryan storyline this week, but yeah, well, different strokes for different folks, eh? Do you want to... How about... Did you enjoy the next one? Have you enjoyed finding out about Stephen's secret diary and laptop?
I want them
tickling your fancy.
I want them to do a special video of Stephen writing in his diary with a shot of Stephen, like, you know, punched over the page writing.
Yeah.
And then, like, a ghostly Stephen appearing over the top going, "Are you there, God? It's me, Stephen." And then doing, like, a reading out.
I'd rather have a scene of him writing in his diary in a darkened room, but there's a voiceover, but it's David who's doing the voice. Because that was very entertaining. Was it Wednesday's episode when he was reading through it to Sarah to reading out? I thought that Jack B. Shepherd, you know, it was like Stephen was back and with us and alive again. It was that good. That was a lot of fun. But go on, you tell us.
Yeah, I will do. On Monday, Craig brings Stephen's personal effects to the salon for Audrey in a big brown bag, and they're looking through. David pulls out a laptop. He gets a wallet and a phone, a black book, and a smashed up watch, which was a bit sad, really, and gross, because obviously it was hit in the car crash. Audrey finds a photo of him from 1996 in his wallet, with him, Audrey, and Gail. And she's like crying.
I know Alfie's such a great photographer.
This programme, I swear to God, it's so hilarious and exactly like so human how inconsistent it is with how much room characters are given to grieve or like get over stuff. Like some people still moping about things that happened years ago. Audrey, like her son was killed like 2 months ago, and I was like, why are you still moaning about it for?
That storyline's barely been on screen since then.
We haven't talked about this storyline. Get over it. Get a new storyline.
I loved, David was on form all week for the small amount that he was used. But
do you know what I mean? Like the tone of this was so bizarre because he's a villain, and so there are no complicated feelings allowed. There's no kind of dwelling on the past or genuine sadness or mixed feelings. It's just comedy because
David thinks it's hilarious.
He was like, serial killer.
He was reading that quote like, you can't be the person you were yesterday today. Oh, I can't remember what it was. And Dave was like, oh yeah, well we can't all be serial killers like you, can we, Uncle Stephen? And
everyone's just like, oh, what a funny joke.
But no, Dave, my favourite. Just to be clear,
I think it's hilarious and funny. It just kind of. It complicates everything a little bit, doesn't it? Because there's no real consistency and this is how sometimes we get tripped up when we go into a story. Like, is this story about mental health, or is this a story where a character is going to be, sort of crazy in the fictional sense of the term, which is not at all connected
just
with
got
real
screw loose
mental health issues? We're just going to ignore that.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, David reading out from the diary was fun, but my favourite bit was when he was talking about Stephen's laptop that was found, and he was like, oh yeah, there's a file on there called Jenny's Saucy Pics. I love that.
Audrey asks Craig what the case, the tracking the money, how's that going? And he says, well, we just can't find the money, we don't have the resources. Interesting, isn't it? Isn't it interesting the police don't have the money to help people to get their money back? But I bet you if it was a shady politician or something, they'd be rabbiting down. Anyway, Audrey gets upset again.
Amy, if she heard about this, she'd be right on it, wouldn't she? She's the police already aren't her favourite people at the moment.
Well, she'd probably say they shouldn't be concentrating on finding money. They should
only be concentrating on spiking stories, cases, and rapists.
Yeah, that's all we care about. David and Audrey get Jenny round to number 8 to ask her if there's anything she wants of Stephen. So she asks for the laptop, and then this cuts into her later on going through it for the Rover stuff.
Yeah.
And David finds Audrey fondling Stephen's journal, and she refuses to throw it away, and she's going through it and reading stuff. And also on Wednesday, she tells David off because he keeps banging on about her keeping this journal, and she says, you don't shut up about it, I'm going to make Maria the manager.
Do you think there's anything wrong with her obsession with her son? Is it unhealthy for her to be looking through his journal?
She's grieving.
I wouldn't say so, no.
2 months. When was it? It was like October, wasn't it? He died. Get over it, David. Her son is dead.
I don't know whether, if I was in Audrey's shoes, I'd necessarily want to, because I would worry that I might
find something
read something that I didn't want to read, and Stephen wouldn't be able to defend himself.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, he could very much have got frustrated at Audrey and written down, "Oh, my mum's such a ditzy cow" or something.
Oh yeah, you don't.
And then she'd have got upset by that, and he's not there to say sorry. But
or say, I don't feel that way now.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very good point. I never thought. But if I find a diary of anyone's, I'm reading it.
Well, unearthed diaries are always a treasure trove on soaps, aren't they?
Yeah.
And the whole Ivy's diary being discovered by, I think it was David and Sophie back at Christmas 2006, was brought up later on in this story, and that's when he finds out that Gail had been planning to abort him.
You don't find out anything nice.
No, and then he reveals this to everybody on Christmas Day 2006, just to put the cat among the pigeons. And that was a brilliant Christmas episode.
Nobody goes
and
around.
So I was really excited to find out, what are we going to find out in this diary.
I have the feeling it's going to be something a bit boring.
Oh no, we found it, haven't we? It was the Ian Latimer stuff. I don't think there's going to be any more than that.
Okay.
And the password to his laptop, but.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
It was not as juicy as what David found out about himself. For sure.
At least it's an established fact in the world, and it doesn't retcon things.
No,
which is quite good, really. Good job for unearthing that one, even though it does feel a bit. It feels a bit like, who cares? But Sarah made a meal out of it, didn't she?
Yeah, so we kind of skipped ahead for the rest of the episode. But David gets the diary back, and as he's reading through it, he uncovers this thing which is saying, where Stephen is commenting on Gail's hypocrisy regarding Sarah's pregnancy, and and the fact that she didn't know who the father of the child was earlier this year. And Stephen says, "Oh, it's she can say this, but what about her and the Aussie, and not knowing whose dad Sarah really was?"
And David's like, "What?"
Yes. No, I thought it was good. Of all stories to be brought back and called back to, that's not one that you think is ever going to be mentioned again, is it? And I do love it when they bring up an old storyline. And this, to me, there's no retcon involved in here. It's just a character finding out about something that their parent was involved in 35 years ago. And I think it's great. It's like when, I think that still Amy doesn't know the situation regarding her parentage, and the fact that Kaylee and Roy thought that they were the parents, and at some point she's going to find out about that. I may be wrong, she may know that already, I don't know, but there are so many horrible dark secrets in the past of all of these characters. When they're brought up, it's brilliant. So the story here was, and I've not watched this for a jolly long time, and I've not looked at the details particularly since, that Brian, who is canonically Sarah Louise's dad, was a bit of a player, wasn't he? And he'd had relationship issues with Gail, and he'd been going off seeing other women. And so when Gail got pregnant, she'd also had an illicit moment with his Australian cousin, Ian Latimer. And so she didn't realise who the daddy was, and is that Coronation Street's first Who's the Daddy story? I don't know. But it all gets tied up fairly quickly, because Brian ends up leaving Gail, but because there's no way of knowing who the father actually is. But when Sarah Louise was born, Ian does a DNA test. He does a blood test, that's right, sorry. And because his blood type is different than Sarah's, there's no way that he can be the dad, so he rules him out, and he tells Gail, "Well, look, we've got different blood types, I can't be the dad, you're off the hook, it must be Brian." So Gail is left relieved, and from that point on, we as viewers and everybody else concerned say, well, the baby must be Brian's then. But I do wonder whether there was anything more to bringing this story up, because it wasn't necessarily needed. Yes, it caused a little bit of drama and friction on Friday, but I do wonder whether 2024 is going to see an attempted retcon of this and a return to the street for Ian.
Well, okay. The point is that he could have lied about the result of the blood test.
Yeah, he wanted he wanted to be the dad, and because I rewatched the scene yesterday of him telling Gail, "No, we've got different blood types," and he did look disappointed by it. But the way that it was written and shot and everything could absolutely. It could be easily retconned, and it wouldn't be a case of no. Hang on a minute. No, and you know what I'm like with those things. But having watched the scene, they could very easily say he lied about it because he realised at the last minute he didn't want the hassle of being a dad. It would make it too difficult. Mm-hmm. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say maybe he looked sad and disappointed because he actually did want to be the dad, but he realised it was for the best.
Yeah.
But he said he wasn't.
It would not be beyond the realms of possibility, and I don't think Gail's had a DNA test since then. So...
Also, I don't know how foolproof this blood test thing is. I'm assuming that it's solid.
Well, I mean, there's only a small number of blood types that you can be. Yeah. So I don't think that if we'd have seen the blood test results, I don't think there'd have been any going back on it then. But the fact is, all we saw was Ian telling Gail, "I can't be the dad," and so can we trust him?
Hey, so if you say I can't be the dad, does that mean I'm not the dad? No, it doesn't. It just means I can't be the dad because I got stuff to do. Do you get it?
Yes, I get it. I suppose the thing is, what difference would it make if there was a retcon here, and if it turned out that Sarah was actually Ian's daughter? Does that really make a difference?
Well, there's loads of things you can spin out of that.
Go on.
Well, I mean, my personal thing, I know that I'm obsessed with the idea of Rhys Darby, who is the New Zealand comedian and actor. He was in Our Flag Means Death. I think he's been in some Thor films. He was in What We Do in the Shadows. He was the man that says we're werewolves, not swearwolves. Right. He's so funny. I love him so much. I'm obsessed with the idea of him being Sarah's half-brother because he looks just like Ian Latimer. He's got a similar face. I know he's from New Zealand, but I think you can say that Ian moved to New Zealand and had a child there, and that's why he's got a New Zealand accent.
You can probably say that people in Britain don't really know the difference between Australian and New Zealand accents. Sorry.
They are quite obvious. They're quite distinct from one another.
Well, one might say that about Yorkshire and Lancashire accents, and Coronation Street's been getting away with that for years.
I love the New Zealand accent so much. I would love for this to happen. I mean... that's just my pet. Oh, they're obviously not going to get him in Coronation Street, but it'd be so fun if they did. But they could bring in anyone. They could bring back Ian. They could bring.
Well, the actor who played Ian is still going. He's still in the biz. I had to look at his IMDb page yesterday, and although he's definitely slowed down over the years, he was credited in something just last year. So it technically isn't out of the question to get him back. I'm kind of not really interested in the story if they don't bring the original actor back, and I know that can be very shallow. I just hate it when they do recasts. I really, really don't like it. It takes me out of the world.
Yeah, but he hasn't been in it for so long, he wouldn't. I
know. I'm sure I'd get over it quickly if the story was good enough. I just love it when they bring actual faces back from the past, like they did with Debbie Webster, for example.
But he didn't have a massive part. It was in like 4 episodes.
Yeah, no, I think he was in less than 10 episodes. But if they wanted to bring him back, and it'd give the Platts as a family a decent bit of drama, which they need a kick up the arse. Because they haven't had one for so long. I just want
a new accent. I would love an Australian or a New Zealand accent on the show. Love the way it sounds. I think it doesn't have to be Ian. It could be Ian's wife. It could be Ian's daughter. Ian's son.
Yeah, there's only so much mileage you can get out of a 70-year-old Aussie coming back. He's not necessarily.
I think a half brother or half sister would be cool because they come in like, look, I got to they would probably be. Similar age to Sarah, maybe, younger. So how old would that be?
What, for Sarah? 40?
So 40 or under, going, look, I got to a certain point in my life and I realised that I wanted to find out more about my family. And so I've come here, I think that would make sense because this is the age in your life when you start thinking about your legacy and your family, and so, and it even makes sense. Like maybe they didn't even know about Sarah until they did a 23andMe or one of these DNA tests, because this throws up people from all over the place, doesn't it? Like imagine if Sarah did one for her birthday or Christmas, and then so her details are logged on. and then this other person does it and finds them in the database and decides to come and see.
Yeah. I mean, it's becoming more and more a common thing on Coronation Street for characters to find out that one or both of their parents aren't actually the people they thought they were. So in a way, it's cliche.
I'm going to say it's cliche, but this is why they do it.
I wouldn't be against it. I think that Sarah is a great character. Gail could do with having some proper drama. We got to see a bit of it on Friday when she was defending herself to Sarah. I wouldn't be against having some Australian character or New Zealand character or whatever come in. Maybe they just happened to coincidentally bump into Martin Platt while they were over there as well, because, you know, they don't just have to happen in the precinct. They can happen anywhere in the world, these coincidental bumping intos. It feels like, what was the point of bringing it up if they're not going to go anywhere?
The only reason they brought it up was because they wanted a secret that they could find in the diary, and that was the one they thought of. That's what I think. I don't think anything more is going to happen.
I suppose,
but I wish that it would, and it doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean it will never happen. This is given a little glimmer of something, and maybe the writers will pick it up.
Yeah.
The other things I was going to say that could happen is she could inherit something, some money, or she could inherit some kind of horrible genetic thing that she has to worry about. What else would be of any significance? I don't really know.
I don't know. Maybe, I
think those are the main things, aren't they? Inheriting kangaroo farm.
That's all they will have in Australia, isn't it? I don't know. I suppose the real thrust of the story was that was just an interesting side note, although it has left to this grand plan at the end of Friday's episode. The real mysterious part is going to be the laptop. But anyway, we haven't even said what happened on Friday, have we? So go on.
So Sarah's... Right, so Shona's asking David to help with moving beans around the cafe. And Sarah says that she knows something he doesn't know about Audrey's plan for the salon, which I don't even know what that is. And David says, well, I know something you don't know. And it's about the fact that you might not have even had the right dad.
I think Sarah's joking was because Audrey had been threatening David with making Maria the sole owner of the salon if he doesn't stop being an arse. And Sarah's like, well, maybe that's her plan.
Anyway, Sarah calls him a nasty liar and goes off to confront Gail about this. And she's really upset that Gail never brought this up when she was going through her own Who's the Daddy storyline earlier this year, because she thought that Gail should have told her that she had also gone through a similar thing. And Gail says, I was just ashamed of myself. Sarah won't take that excuse and she drops off. Honestly, though... This is what we moaned about before with characters forgetting that they've done stuff. But if every character, when somebody's having a dramatic moment, if every character went, "Can I stop you there?" Because I've had a similar
dramatic moment
in 1978, and I just thought it was great. I got on the front of the soap mags. I was in the papers. Really, you've got
I think you were in the front of the soap mags in 1978.
Whatever.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me if Gail had just kind of forgotten about this. She has been losing her marbles, hasn't she, recently?
Well, if Daenerys can forget about an entire Iron Fleet coming to get her and her dragons, I think we can forgive Gail for not knowing who the father of her child was. I mean, she wasn't the first child, she wasn't the last child, was she? No. So who cares? It's just middle child syndrome. So Jenny's going through Stephen's laptop, finds this password-protected Seagull Ventures folder. Gail finds David in the salon saying that he's upset Sarah. And David says, well, Sarah started it. I got it out of this diary. And Gail's like, why on earth is Audrey going through his diary and telling everybody all this stuff? Jenny asks Carla for some help with this laptop code. So they go to the police and ask them about it. Sarah's still asking Gail for more information about what the situation was with her not knowing who the father was, and Gail's crying and Sarah's moaning again, and Gail tries to get David to apologise later to Sarah, but they just fight again, and then they start talking about the Christmas diary, not 2006 diary thing where he found out he was going to maybe be aborted, and he's like, look, everyone can shut up because I had the worst diary revelation of all time. Audrey comes in, takes the diary away from everybody, and also shames them for using this as a weapon to against each other. Then we get to see Carly and Jenna at the police station with Swain, and she's like, "Look, we did look at this laptop. We saw the file was encrypted. We don't have the resources to look at this. Sorry, it's the murder bit's more important, and we don't care about that either. So, what do you want from us?
Well, I mean, if I was Jenny, I'd be saying, hang on a minute, I thought that if anybody in this city ever wanted to guess somebody's password, all you have to do is try 3 times.
Yeah.
And you'll magically get it the 3rd time. And you're telling me you haven't got the police resources to do that.
Do 3 times. What you do is you go, what's his birthday?
Yeah.
Then you say, what's his best friend or boyfriend or girlfriend's birthday?
Yeah. And then you see a little clue somewhere.
Yeah.
You have a thing.
Then you look next to you where there's a post-it note that says password.
And then that works.
And you write password 1 and then it opens.
Wouldn't surprise me if that was Stephen's password.
Jenny's interest is piqued when Audrey goes to the cabin and tells her about this diary, and she's about to try to grab it when Audrey whisks it away. Meanwhile, the Platts are deciding that they need to cheer up Audrey, and they've got a grand plan on Platt chat, and they're going to do something nice as a fam.
Illy. Whatever that could be, I don't know.
Oh, kind of Christmas shenanigans.
No, that should just be kind of fun. Well, I'm interested to see what Jenny's going to be up to now, because she needs to get her hands on this diary, and I want to see some kind of heist or...
Dun, dun,
you know,
dun, dun, dun,
I wanted to see her infiltrating Grasmere Drive to get... I know we're not going to see it, but my picture of her kind of lively stepping over laser beams that Audrey has got set up there so that she can reach this laptop, because she knows that it's got the password for the Seagull, not the laptop, sorry, the diary.
I'm just very concerned that this is actually a Horcrux.
What?
They need to be careful what they do with this diary.
Stephen's already dead. It's fine. No, I mean, I'm sure she'll get it eventually, won't she?
Of course she will.
Will have the password.
And then she'll open it and she'll flick through back and forward. She'll find something about her.
Yeah, I think. Do you reckon?
And she'll cry.
Do you reckon it's going to have a little
be something sweet
love
about
poem?
Her? And then there'll be a bit of blood from Leo, and maybe she'll say screw it, and then she'll get the money back for Carla, and then Carla can stop sulking.
Is that all?
Because honestly, this storyline about her being bankrupt has just turned into her being a moody bitch. Hasn't changed literally anything for anybody, apart from Michael doesn't work at the factory anymore, or does he? I can't remember. They take him back. I think Sarah took him back. So what's changed? Nothing. Literally, it's teetering on the knife edge of bankruptcy the whole time. In fact, the fact that Carla had £250,000 in that bank account makes me think all the other times she's told them that they're teetering on the edge of closing down was a total lie. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Now she's finally actually getting a taste of what it's like to be in a poorhouse, and she doesn't like it. Are you
interested in this story?
Yeah, I mean, I like a good diary. I like to read some juicy secrets.
And having all the Platts together for that scene in the kitchen at the end of Friday's episode, and they were looking on their phones.
Phones were ringing at the same time.
Yeah. Platts' woefully underused family unit in the past few years. So at least that should hopefully give them a few minutes of enjoyment on Friday's episode. Now, even the Stew storyline, which we're going to move on to next, wasn't as bad as it has been, I thought.
Yeah.
Because we had some secret revelations for Dom there. I mean, I'm still... My interest level in this is very, very low. But at least there was a little bit more to it this week than just Stu saying, "Oh, I'm going to get that Dom. I don't want him to live with Eliza anymore." There was a little bit more.
I was bamboozled by the whole under the tree scenes. Like, it felt like something was happening that never happened.
Somebody was going to find the money under the tree, but they didn't.
On Monday, Jasmine tells Stu that he's doing a great job of hiding the fact that he can't share Christmas with Eliza. And
is he hiding that under the tree as well? His sense of disappointment.
Yeah, that's what everyone keeps under their tree at Christmas, isn't it? So they're trying to come up with ideas to do stuff at speed dial.
For Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
Oh, we're all looking forward to that one, aren't we? So Stu's in the bistro with the PI later. He says he wants some time off work, doesn't he? But actually he's meeting up with his investigator, who has finally come up trumps and found dirt on Dom. Yeah,
she finds out that he got in trouble for dangerous driving in Germany back in 2020 with a woman and a child in the car.
What?
Now, I wonder if they picked this date on purpose, because 2020 was during the COVID, and you wouldn't have had a reason to be in a car with a woman and a child unless they were related to you in some way.
Good point. Were you allowed to travel abroad? I can't remember what the rules were.
He would have been there
then.
with his family, though, wouldn't he?
Yeah, but did he start?
He would have stayed. He was there at the
start of the pandemic.
He would have had to have stayed.
Okay.
This child, but it doesn't matter because the child's got Dom's surname, so that gave it away.
Perignon. I don't know.
Dom Perignon. She says, I reckon this woman was his fiancée. And she's like, yay! He's a serial abandoner. Hooray, he's going to break my grandchild's heart. She's going to be so sad when she finds out she'll have to stay with me.
And I'm going to be right.
I'm right.
Me and Daniel can just join the We're Right Together club.
It's not paranoia if you're right. Yasmin comes in and she's very pleasant about this woman and who she is. And this woman pretends to be a care worker to check on Stu after his release from prison. And Yasmin buys it. She's going to flip her lid when she finds out that wasn't true.
Well, yeah, especially because we know Yasmin doesn't really like liars in relationships.
She harps on about that quite a lot, doesn't she?
Yes.
After school, Stu tries to fish for information from Eliza about her dad's work in Germany and doesn't get very far with it. The PI's at Chariot Square later telling Stu over the phone that she's been able to find the name of this child and it's Ben. Good German name.
Perignon.
Ben Perignon. The German child.
Yeah.
Sounds like maybe he's got some unfinished business in Germany, eh? And Stu's like, haha. And offers to take Dom out for lunch tomorrow. Looking pretty pleased with himself. On Wednesday, he again asked for time off.
Oh no, maybe that was the only time he asked for time off. Maybe I'm getting him confused.
Well, I was going to say, maybe he thinks he's Daniel, just taking time off left, right and centre. He wants to meet a financial advisor about his money and he's saying, he obviously is going to pick this cash up, isn't he? So Stu and Dom have their meal. I thought it was really sweet. They've both had a little glass of wine each. Very civilised. Starts off quite pleasant, but Stu brings up something which loads of people picked up on that never got mentioned. He accuses Dom of turning up drunk to pick Eliza up last week. I don't know why he let him go. Why did he let Dom take Eliza if he knew he was drunk? That's so irresponsible. But he says, you shouldn't do that. Eliza needs stability and you have a son in Germany. That's not related at all, but it's just part of my accusation. And Dom's like, oh! And he tells Stu that he's obsessed with him. And Stu says, get your priorities straight. Go to Germany, look after your family there, and I'll look after Eliza here, and I won't tell her anything. And Dom's like, forget this, I'm going. And Stu says, look, how about I give you £10,000 to start your life again? And he's kind of like, it's this convenient lie that they're both pretending they believe that Dom is only taking the money for a good and noble reason, and that Stu's only offering it because he wants the best for Dom and his family in Germany. But we all know it's a bribe. So he doesn't accept or not because Eliza runs over and gives him a hug. And back at home, Eliza tells Yasmin that she's got a couple of tickets for the Christmas show so they can go and watch it. Hooray! Hooray! Yasmin's like, oh, you got one for me too.
Alia, would you like to go to a Christmas show?
Oh, what's that, Alia? You can't come down the stairs. Yasmin turns her back and Stu stuffs the money under the tree. And we get a very prolonged shot of this. And we also get a shot of him taking it back out again later. Like, what?
Maybe we're just supposed to, put it in our little box in our minds that that's Stu's hiding place. But
yeah, maybe.
There's only so many weeks that he can have that as a good hiding place.
In this cafe later, Eliza gets talking to Dom about how lovely and diverse Webby High is. As long as your family love you, that's all that counts. I don't understand that. And Dom's like, cool.
No, he's Dom.
What does that mean?
No, Eliza's. It's just a bit of a clunky way of saying everybody's accepted at.
I don't care.
No, she says that everyone's a bit different, but everyone's got families who love them or something at Weatherfield High, and that's what's most important, isn't it, Dad? Having family that love you, and Dom saying, I've got family over in Germany.
I've got two families, and
yeah.
No one's loving the one in Germany, but two people love the one that's here, so maybe I should go to Germany.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's just a really awful way of getting that across. Dom takes Eliza back home and tells Stu and Yasmin, oh no, I've just got to go to Hamburg. And Eliza can't come because they don't have any facilities in Germany for children. I'm going to go straight after the concert on Christmas Eve. And Eliza's really sad. And Yasmin...
No. They're going after the concert, which is on Friday, and he's going to come back on Christmas Eve. Look, it says until Christmas Eve.
He's going straight after the concert until Christmas Eve. When's the concert?
Friday. We saw it happen. We didn't see the concert.
So he's going to Germany for the weekend for work.
He's going to Germany for a week. Is the plan.
The concert was on Friday.
This Friday, we saw it happen.
All right, Michael. I didn't get to see the concert. I wanted to see the concert. I want to see how good Eliza is.
Okay.
So, sorry, I didn't follow it at all. Eliza's really down about this, and Yasmin takes her upstairs to jolly him up, and then Stu's like, here's the money, go away.
And don't come back.
This is so dumb. Why is Stu letting Dom lie to Eliza about him coming back? Because he thinks it's going to make him look bad, I guess.
Yeah.
He's a git, isn't he?
Yeah.
He doesn't care how much Eliza gets hurt as long as he doesn't like Dom.
I don't think he does.
On Friday, Dom drops Eliza off at number 6. She's nervous about the concert. She shouldn't have worried about it because nobody went to go see it, apparently. Stu's looking nervous that Dom's going to change his mind and not go to Germany. Later on, Eliza's having last-minute nerves and Dom's like, I'm so proud of you. You'll be great. They come back from the concert. It's all gone well. Dom says, I've got to go pack. And Eliza says, no, please stay for longer. But he decides to go. And after he's left, Yasmin asks Stu about Dom because he seemed a bit weird earlier. Is there something going on? And she's like, no, I don't know. Later on, that's the end.
That's the end because that's when my notes about the dog storyline come along. So another story you're not so interested in?
So is he just gone now?
He has gone to Germany.
So he's never coming back?
Well, I don't know. I've probably got a feeling that he will come back.
He's going to come back because, so in Germany...
And he'll say, yeah, I've still got you 10... And he'll just say to Stu, you didn't give me £10,000. I don't know what you mean. What are you talking about?
Eva and Ben are the ones in Germany. They're just going to be like, well, we don't need you. I don't know why did he get it in his head that they wanted him back? Just because Stu obviously doesn't know the situation. Who knows what happened between Ben and Eva and Dom to make him abandon them in Germany and come over.
And it wouldn't surprise me if Dom wasn't even going to go and say Eva and Dom and Ben. He's just kind of staying in the travelling down the road.
I wouldn't stay in the travelling if I had 10 grand.
Well, it depends what you want to spend the rest of it on.
I'd be in the Ritz for Christmas.
But yeah, he may well not be going to Germany. And he's going to show up again, gloating on Christmas Eve. I mean, the fact that they made a big thing about the speed dial being open on Christmas Day. Oh,
yeah, that's true.
Surely he's going to make an unwelcome reappearance there. And Eliza's going to think it's brilliant. Stu's going to say, hey, but I gave you £10,000, And Yasmin will hear him saying that.
Oh.
That's what my prediction is.
You're writing a really good story.
Well, I mean, all the previews for the Christmas episodes are out now. I've stayed well away from them, but it feels like it's maybe going down that route. Whatever it is, I just hope that this storyline is done and dusted by the time New Year comes around, because we have had our fill of this, haven't we? There was even, I think it was The Mirror this week published an article saying Coronation Street fans demand an end to the boring Stu storyline.
Oh no.
It really just feels so separate from everything else, doesn't it? It's like...
Might as well be a Bailey storyline.
This is at least Speaking of which, we've not seen much of... we haven't seen Sarge for 2 weeks. I haven't seen anything that's going on with the Baileys.
Stu and Yasmin have been...
They're just in their own little bubble.
Really, really bad. Bad move. I was excited for when they got together.
I don't know whether I was.
But it was always a weird relationship because I never bought that it was actually romantic.
No, it felt like Yasmin needs a romantic interest. Here's Stu.
Here's a guy.
Yeah, let's have him being really paranoid about him being a liar at the beginning, just to drag up the Jeff stuff again.
Why can't we just have two people who want to be companions?
I don't need that, but...
Well, no, but why not, though? Why not have... It's a different sort of relationship, isn't it? I mean, the closest we ever had to that was Bet and Alec, but they had sex with each other, so even though they didn't love each other, they still had a sexual relationship.
Yeah, but I do buy that Yasmin and Stu love each other, and like she was saying, who's the most handsome man in the street, or I can't remember what she said the other day. I get it. I'm just not interested. But it feels like they've gone. This
is what we were saying before about different stages of your relationship. Feels like they skipped the sexual attraction, it's exciting, fun phase, and they've skipped 20 years into the future where barely even sit in the same room.
But no, they do.
But they don't have any... Oh.
I don't think they've got exciting chemistry.
There's no chemistry.
But even if there was, they feel like so separated off from everybody else in the programme.
Yeah. And
they might as well live, in the middle of the Sahara Desert in number 6.
They've got no chemistry. They've got nothing in common.
Mm.
I mean, we went through all that with him getting jealous of Roy.
Work.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
And he was feeling like and he realised that he doesn't have anything in common.
Mm.
You could get over that if you have, the other elements of a relationship. They don't have that either.
I at least enjoyed that there was a bit more development this week and we find out more about Dom, although even that is like a very convenient other family in Germany. Like
what happened with it though? It's just so weird.
I'm not interested to find out.
No, I know, but I think it's weird that whatever happened, I think you're right. Dom was so easily convinced by Stu, who knew nothing of the background of why they split up with each other.
Well, he just saw the £10,000.
Yeah, thanks, I'll see you later.
Which is what he wanted when he was trying to buy Eliza off of him a couple of months ago.
So why did it work this time and not the first time?
Because Stu was willing to give him the money. He didn't want to give him the... No. Oh, I don't know. Don't try and make me remember what happened in this dull storyline. But at least everything else this week was interesting. To me, I enjoyed the dog stuff. I enjoyed Stephen in his diary. Definitely enjoyed Ryan, Daniel and Daisy.
That was the best.
That was definitely the best. I think we had the best chat with that for sure. But on the whole, no, it's still a decent week. I'm going to give it 4 of Jenny's saucy picks, or 4 saucy picks of Jenny maybe, out of 5 this week. What are you giving it?
I'm going to give it 3.5 because I realised how much I didn't care about the
dog story.
Taylor storyline. I'm
really surprised.
3.5 Gangster Gods. I don't know what that's from.
Well, don't say it then. Well, give it to...
No, I'll give it to whatever I want.
Oh, fine, alright then. Character of the week.
I'm going to give it 3.5 Puppy Mills then.
Okay, yeah, you can give it 3.5.
Character of the week's Puppy Breeder.
No, it wasn't. You're not giving it to Terry.
Daniel,
character of the week. Because despite being a massive arse and being very manipulative and horrible to Daisy, I was still fighting his corner.
I just think it's a great choice of Coronation Street to have taken a character who is genuinely the victim in this situation, who'd done really nothing wrong up to this point and had been cheated on and lied to, and just turned him into as big a villain as anyone else. I think that's great.
Lots of fun.
Yeah.
Right.
And I want to see him push someone down the stairs because that will make the hat trick, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you got to get the hat trick.